Alright, you and I are about to meet the absolute powerhouses of the Arcadia Empire, the legendary Cardenas clan, ultimate protectors of these lands for generations. This massive squad boasts 7 knightly orders, and each one packs a military punch so insane it could literally wipe out entire nations. The most prestigious is the Golden Dragon Order, made up only of the direct bloodline who are born with gold hair and glowing golden eyes. Word on the street is real dragon blood flows through them, giving them a physical and magical boost that leaves regular mortals in the dust. This is where the young dragons gather to unlock their inherited power, showing off crazy supernatural abilities called traits from a super young age. But they are not alone. Side branch members also train here, desperately trying to break past their genetic limits against the true heirs, in the brutal Cardenas training grounds. Might makes right, and every recruit must prove their worth in real combat under their bosses. Among them, William Cardenas stands out as the undisputed number 1. Swinging his sword with a confidence that is basically pure arrogance, William moves with absolutely terrifying speed, blocking and countering the strikes of his own relatives with insulting ease, no matter how many try to take him. The pure direct bloodline power feels like a brick wall to anyone daring to challenge him. The young noble girl with the number 2 badge is about to completely collapse. Unable to keep up with the raw, brutal strength William is flexing, she literally cannot believe her eyes. Even teaming up 2 versus 1, they cannot put the top dog in any real danger. In a flash, Dylan Cardenas, number 4, ends up biting the dust, leaving his partner completely solo against the class monster. The girl grits her teeth and tries to fight back, but cold sweat and shaking hands prove she already knows she's cooked. Now, pay attention here because William's technique is like a dragon claw, a brutal force that a regular apprentice guard cannot even hope to block. Pure panic fills her golden eyes as she realizes her guard has been completely blown away by the angle of his next strike. William lets loose a decisive slash that sends the girl flying, ending the fight with a massive power flex that leaves the whole place dead silent. Number 2 hits the floor defeated, while William looks down on her with pure disgust for not even scratching him. He just stands there, reminding everyone who runs this training field with a coldness that chills them to the bone. You are no different from the side branch trash. He spits out, comparing his own relatives to the weakest underdogs of the clan, with a cocky smirk. William declares himself the only winner worthy of this prestige selection. Meanwhile, high above the battlefield in the headquarters of the Order, the higher-ups are keeping a super close eye on everything. Commander Fabian and his officers watch the holographic screens showing every single detail of the recruit's performance. Fabian, a beastly-looking man with an eye patch, straight up asks who they think deserves the top grade this year. Bruno, the head instructor, nods, acknowledging the crazy talent. Even though he only has one guy in mind for the number 1 spot, everyone knows he's talking about William Cardenas, who's still standing among the ruins and clapped recruits. The commander assumes he means number 1, pointing out that numbers 2 and 4 are also from the clan's top-tier direct bloodline. The talk goes on as training stats flow through the academy's spy systems. Bruno points out that almost all side branch members are already wiped out, making it clear that DNA usually decides who survives here. Fabian sighs, believing the bloodline wall is just something you cannot overcome no matter how hard you train. The ranking system is harsh, but it works. Number 1 is logically the absolute strongest warrior out of hundreds of recruits. Everything points to William winning, but you and I are about to get a twist. The head instructor has a different opinion. Hold on a second, Bruno cuts in, stopping the commander's final decision before it goes official in the database. Fabian looks at him, wondering what could possibly top the absolute dominance they just witnessed. The instructor reveals that there is a highly unusual side branch member still standing who caught his eye. That instantly grabs the commander's interest. Since it's super rare for someone without pure blood to shine among top geniuses, Fabian knows that occasionally rare beasts appear, climbing the ranks through pure grit and determination. But Bruno insists this is built different. It's not just talent, it's a climb that defies all logic. If the head instructor is this sure, Fabian knows there has to be an insanely good reason to consider this kid. The name that drops from his mouth is Lanner Scordian, who is currently sitting at rank 25. This kid spawned out of nowhere just days ago, smashing every opponent and skyrocketing from rank 381 to 25 in record time. Fabian is completely stunned, thinking it is a joke. But Bruno tells him to look at the screen to see Lanner's real potential. The security feeds show the most critical moment of the trials, the one-on-one duel between number 1 and recruit 25. Lanner Cardenas steps right up to the best in the class, Keeping a calm vibe that completely clashes with a heavy tension in the air, William Cardenas laughs arrogantly, saying coming alone takes guts, but warns he will show zero mercy. Lanner simply replies that is good to hear, locking into a solid stance for their very first clash. Recruit 25 stares right back with intense crimson eyes, declaring that in that case, he will not hold back at all either. William's golden eyes narrow at the challenge, showing pure irritation that starts growing by the second at Lanner's insane disrespect. William's aura explodes with crazy power, demanding Lanner draw his sword. You and I are going to love watching this cocky dude get humbled next. Alright, you and I are about to dive into this crazy duel, where Leonard realizes William's #1 badge is definitely not just for show. With a smug smirk, our main character decides it is time to test his skills against this so-called prodigy. Come and get me, Leonard taunts. Totally hyped to see how far his past life cheat code can carry his new body. Suddenly, the ground literally explodes under William's feet, as he charges forward with insane, superhuman physical strength. In a flash, William launches himself high into the air with a wild acrobatic flip, crashing down like a blue meteor straight at Leonard's guard, unleashing a savage battle cry. William swings with everything he has got, trying to shatter Leonard's sword in one single blow. Boom! A massive explosion of blue energy completely swallows them both. Kicking up a massive cloud of dust, William grits his teeth in pure shock, realizing his heaviest strike was just blocked clean by the trash kid he despised. In one smooth motion, Leonard effortlessly redirects the whole attack, sending William's crazy brute force wasting away into thin air. Leonard then glides around him like a ghost, completely dodging any counter before William can even blink. The #1 is left standing there totally clueless, burning with rage because this dude just walked away so casually. William stares at his own sword in pure disbelief, wondering how a basic recruit just blocked a direct hit from his elite bloodline. His pride is absolutely shattered, and he swears his weapon is way too strong to be messed with by a low-tier nobody. Screaming with rage, William charges again in a blazing blue aura, warning Leonard to stop playing around with him. The two of them now pay attention because they start a frantic exchange of slashes and parries, lighting up the entire field with blue and white energy trails. Every single dodge is calculated to save his energy and mana. Up in the observation deck, Bradley notices Leonard's swordplay is incredibly weird, looking absolutely nothing like the clan's teachings. He is seriously impressed by the complete lack of wasted motion in the young recruit's style, whispering his absolute shock to the blue-haired lady. Leonard is brushing off every single strike with zero effort, and the scariest part, he has not even attacked once. William screams in pure frustration, yelling at the top of his lungs for Leonard to stop dodging like a slippery little bug. The #1 unleashes a massive horizontal slash, asking if running away is the only trick he knows to survive this duel. Leonard casually dodges with a clean acrobatic flip, landing so softly he basically defies gravity. His crimson eyes glow with absolute laser focus, scanning every single flaw and pattern in William's reckless, aggressive style. As Leonard hits the ground, it literally cracks under him. William gives him zero breathing room, charging right back in, desperate to land just one solid hit to save face. He puts all his power into a massive downward strike dripping in blue energy, trying to crush Leonard's annoying defense once and for all. The metallic clash rings out loud as their blades slam together, but Leonard holds his ground without moving an inch. Okay, I know what you are thinking, but Leonard just calmly leaps backward to safety, letting William catch his breath. With ice-cold calm, Leonard admits William actually has some decent strength, which only pisses off the #1 even more. William completely loses his mind, screaming that Leonard is all talk and just runs away from real fights. Leonard just stares at him with a totally blank face, calmly telling William to finally start fighting for real. The recruit bursts into motion again, moving so fast he literally leaves afterimages of his body behind him. Bradley closely watches Leonard's incredible decision-making, realizing his tactical skills are way beyond anything a kid should have. William readies his sword with pure fury, but to an expert like Bradley, it is obvious the kid is missing something crucial. Leonard steps right into his opponent's strike zone, showing the kind of wild instincts that are only forged between life and death. No matter how gifted an apprentice is, there is a limit you cannot cross without real experience. Suddenly, William is face to face with Leonard. Finally realizing this kid is the ultimate obstacle blocking his path, William's golden eyes fly wide open in absolute shock as his attack gets shut down with insulting ease. William grunts from the heavy impact of Leonard's counter, losing his balance as his opponent rises in one fluid motion. The other recruits watch in pure shock, unable to believe that number 25 is totally dominating the top student of the class. Leonard charges right back into the fight with fresh determination. To the crowd watching, he looks like a completely different person from a few days ago. Leonard's crimson eyes glow fiercely as he locks onto his target with superhuman precision. Leonard blitzes across the training grounds, leaving a trail of pure speed that totally breaks his rival's focus. William grits his teeth in frustration, realizing he has completely lost track of Leonard mid-fight. Then, out of nowhere, Leonard appears right behind him, showing off a godlike speed that leaves the number 1 totally open. William screams in pure despair at this impossible reality, refusing to accept that Leonard is faster and more skilled than him. "You have lost, number 1. Leonard declares in a chillingly cold voice, preparing his final attack. The strike of Leonard's wooden sword against William is so powerful that the ground cracks, and that is how we leave things, with William flying away in a burst of golden energy. Wild, right? All right, you and I are jumping right into the action, as William takes a direct hit and coughs up blood. Realizing way too late how massive the power gap actually is, Lionel takes a deep breath, knowing his past self could never pull off a stunt like that with this weak body. But now that all of his memories are rushing back, Leonard finally understands the insane scale of his past identity. The shadow of his past life as the legendary Sword Emperor, Ren, looms right behind his young body. See, Ren was a man who walked the path of the blade without ever stopping, dedicating every single fiber of his being to absolute perfection. They say he reached a legendary realm, where he could split the heavens as easily as cutting through thin air, thanks to his sheer, unyielding will. He claimed the title of Sword Emperor for himself before the entire world, yet even after slicing down mountains with one swing, Ren was never satisfied, always looking for a bigger challenge. So he challenged the strongest being of his era, the heavenly demon, to a duel to decide everyone's fate. The battle between these two absolute titans dragged on for days, pushing their mental and physical limits to superhuman levels. The extreme clash got so brutal that it literally rewrote the geography of the entire region forever, and as the battle entered its final stretch, both fighters were running on pure fumes, their bodies wrecked and their mana completely bone dry, under a blood-red moon. They faced off in a clearing totally decimated by their own power. Ren, bleeding out and exhausted, could not understand why his ultimate sword style. I know what you're thinking, how could his perfect sword style fail? But the smug heavenly demon just stood there, asking why Ren could not even touch him. These are just the absolute basics, the demon sneered, mocking the very technique Ren spent an entire lifetime trying to master. He explained that Ren had only been swinging his sword like a dummy, never actually understanding its true essential nature. He claimed Ren only swung his blade out of selfish survival, and that greed is what cost him the win. Ren took those words hard, feeling like missing the basic fundamentals was a major insult for a legendary warrior of his high status. But still, the demon admitted that for a stray dog, Ren had actually managed to survive way longer than anyone else in his presence. His enemy promised to show him real respect by sending him on his final journey, acknowledging the tough path he walked. Rest in peace, Sword Emperor. Those were the final words Ren heard under that blood moon, as he felt his life fading away. Watching everything he ever built crumble so fast, lying there on the cracked ground, Ren closed his eyes, accepting that the end of his legend in this cruel world was finally here. His final thoughts were just desperate wishes for one more shot, one more chance to make his sword actually reach his foe. He reached a bloody hand toward the moon, wondering if in another life he could finally master what was just out of reach. And just like that, the Sword Emperor's legend ended in total defeat. But stick with me, because a brand new legend is about to start somewhere completely unexpected. Somewhere nobody could ever guess, marking the start of a whole new destiny. Suddenly, Lanner snaps awake, his heart racing and his breath short after that crazy vision of his past death. He sits up awkwardly right in the middle of the training field, trying to separate reality from the Sword Emperor's memories. That dream again, Lanner whispers to himself, rubbing his forehead while still totally shaken up by the nightmare. Recruit 133, an arrogant ash-brown-haired guy, walks up to Lanner with a smug smirk along with his cronies. Lanner feels a subtle shift inside him, something that feels super familiar but totally out of place in this new body. Recruit 133 throws a sudden punch at Lanner, yelling that they need to pick up right where they left off. Locking in with absolute focus, Lanner's red eye tracks the incoming punch with surgical precision, and with insane, fluid grace. Lanner easily blocks the guy's fist with his forearm, leaving Recruit 133 wide open. The bully is completely speechless, unable to believe Lanner actually reacted that fast. The other recruits watch with their jaws on the floor, whispering in total disbelief over the block they just witnessed. Lanner looks down at his own hand in shock, realizing his body just moved completely on its own. The power radiating through him is unlike anything he has ever felt in this new life. Recruit 133 takes a step back. His face completely twisted in pure rage and embarrassment from being shut down so easily. Blinded by fury, he grabs his wooden sword and charges Lanner again in a desperate attack. "Don't get cocky," Recruit 133 roars as he swings a massive vertical slash meant to crush his opponent. Leonard Cardenas Corleone's moves with absolute agility that nobody expected, dodging his opponent's slash with total ease. Dylan. Cardenas completely freezes up when his attack misses, his eyes wide open in disbelief. Meanwhile, Lanner feels his body move on pure instinct, like he knows every single opening his enemy has. As his opponent loses balance, Lanner positions himself for a brutal counterattack. A solid hit connects, sending Dylan straight to the floor in absolute defeat. Lanner calmly walks away, feeling like something beyond his own control is guiding his limbs. The other recruits, wearing numbers 257 and 329, yell in horror seeing their buddy go down so fast. Lanner stops and stares them down with a cold, piercing glare, looking like an entirely different person than the weakling they knew. Pure fear grips the two recruits who cannot believe the sheer strength this family outcast is showing. Dylan tries to get up, but the blow left him completely dazed and wheezing. Desperate, the other two rush Lanner together to overwhelm him. He just watches them coming, and trust me, you and I are about to see him make his move. All right, let's watch. His red eyes glow as he remembers everything. Lanner mutters, drawing his sword with absolute perfection. With one smooth, fluid motion, he shuts down their combined attack and blows them back with a massive shockwave. Leonard flies through the air, delivering a brutal dropkick right to Recruit 329's face, slamming him so hard into the dirt that dust and debris explode everywhere. Total silence falls over the place as Leonard looks down at his defeated attackers, completely lost in thought. He suddenly realizes that crazy dream haunting him was not some cheap fantasy. The memory of Ren, the legendary Sword Emperor, is real. Fighting under a blood-red moon, it all rushes back to him. That nightmare used to mess up his training, but now, everything finally makes sense. Leonard finally gets it. The epic battles and deaths of that warrior are his own past lives. He accepts his true identity. He is the literal reincarnation of Ren, the god-tier Sword Emperor from another world. It's hard to believe, but his cheat code skills do not lie. Reincarnation is actually real. He wonders if his desperate dying wish was what dragged his soul into this weak new body. But then, ouch, a sharp pain shoots down his arm, dragging him back to reality. This current body is totally weak, aching after just a few simple sword swings. Leonard stares at his hands, realizing the previous owner trained this body completely wrong, but with his god-level past-life wisdom, he knows what to do. He has to start rebuilding his strength the right way immediately. Standing under the moonlight, he vows to use his epic memories to become absolutely unstoppable. You and I both know he is determined to smash his limits, and trust me, he is looking hungry for greatness. His goal: surpass his legendary past self and reach the absolute peak. Now, the scene shifts to the moody, serious training grounds of the Cardenas clan. William Cardenas, the undisputed number one of the clan, chills up high while listening to reports from his lackeys. Recruit number 5 steps up with some seriously bad news, reporting that 3 of their top-tier fighters have been completely knocked out. Even worse, one single dude destroyed them all. William gets curious, wanting to know who did this in the blink of an eye. In a demanding voice, he asks, "Who are the losers that bit the dust?" The lackey seriously answers they were numbers 329, 257, and 133. Another guy can't believe it, since those recruits actually had pretty high ranks. You can see the panic on his face as he realizes this new powerhouse is going to disrupt everything. William narrows his eyes, sizing up the threat with a calculating, dangerous look. With a sudden bang, he charges his blade with lightning mana and tells them to watch their mouths. He won't let anyone stress him out. From the shadows, he studies the file on recruit number 381. With a smug grin, he wonders if this kid is worthy of being his pawn. Flashback time, a mysterious figure gives Ren some final advice, explaining his biggest mistake was trying to climb to the absolute peak way too late in life. He neglected his internal power. The key to true godhood is balancing the 5 elements and building a solid foundation while you are still young. If Ren had realized that sooner, his final battle would have ended very differently. Let us pay close attention here. because our boy is about to use this second chance to completely rewrite his destiny. Thick blue energy begins to swirl violently around his chest, instantly responding to his commands as he shapes his core. Step by step, he prepares his new body to handle massive amounts of raw power. I actually did it, he mutters. He feels the raw power rushing through his veins with insane clarity. Even though he was once the ultimate badass under the heavens, he remembers struggling so much at this age. A Cardenas clan banner waves in the wind, showing the massive hurdle Leonard has to climb. Meanwhile, in the main dining hall, the recruits gather to stuff their faces after a brutal day of training. Leonard enjoys his meal, knowing a growing warrior needs a balanced diet to stay unbeatable. Suddenly, a massive shadow looms over him. Someone is looking for recruit number 381. It is a beefy guy who heard about the absolute beatdown Leonard gave the day before. He plops down, shocked by how much food our boy is packing away. He asks Leonard about his low rank, but Leonard corrects him. He is officially number 7 now. The big guy brags about snatching that spot after teaching the last owner a lesson. He proudly explains that if you want to climb the ladder here, you just have to challenge a higher up and kick their butt. Leonard, totally unfazed, coldly asks him what he actually wants. The big guy tries to act all friendly, claiming he just wants to share some juicy gossip about the current situation. He warns him that things are getting extremely tense around here, because the top 3 big shots are aggressively expanding their factions. Leonard just stands up, showing absolutely zero interest in their pathetic high school drama. He casually mentions he already knows all about those golden-haired, golden-eyed heirs of the direct Cardenas line. The beefy recruit completely panics and begs him to shut his mouth. Terrified that someone powerful might overhear them, Leonard just rolls his eyes and tells him to get straight to the point. The guy is stunned, realizing Leonard is like a totally different person. Clenching his teeth, he warns him that survival here depends on who you ally with. He insists that since the big bosses are taking over, the lower ranks need to team up to avoid getting crushed like bugs. He reveals that over half of the 500 recruits have already picked a side. His plan is to team up with numbers 3 and 9, and he wants Leonard to join. Without wasting a single second, Leonard drops a flat-out no, making it crystal clear he does not play well with others. He leaves, thanking him for the info while the poor guy stands there speechless. And that is where we leave it, leaving this poor guy wondering if Leonard completely lost his mind. Alright, you and I are starting this wild ride as Leonard strolls through the academy gardens. Suddenly, he stops. He feels eyes on him, waiting to talk. Boom, heavy footsteps block his path and things get instantly hostile. Turns out William's lackeys are delivering a direct threat. They tell him straight up that the number 1 wants a little chat ASAP. They mention William was shocked Leonard rejected the number 7. Our boy realizes there are no secrets here, and everything leads back to the top dog. Lonel completely shuts down their team-up offer, telling the rookie to get the hell out of his sight right now. The dude gets super offended, feeling disrespected, and charges in screaming that he is going to make him pay for that mouth. A massive wave of pressure wraps around Leonard, but he stays completely chill, waiting for the crash. With insane speed, Leonard dodges the wooden sword like it is nothing. The attacker is totally shocked to see the kid close the gap in a split second. His physical stats are just ridiculous. Leonard channels his inner power, unleashing a scary aura that completely crushes the other guy's spirit. With his bare hands, the rookie screams in shock. He cannot believe Leonard just wrecked his weapon without even using a sword. Leonard blitzes across the battlefield like lightning, leaving his foe totally lost. The final blow is so ridiculously fast and hard, the guy barely registers he got wrecked. Now pay attention here. The badge number 157 goes flying, and Leonard just looks down at the absolute mess. He is convinced the Cardenas bloodline is hiding secrets he needs to uncover. But wait, another challenger steps up. Leonard casually asks the challenger if he really wants to catch hands after seeing that. But the proud owner of badge number 98 screams at him to stop acting high and mighty and just fight. I see Leonard mutters as a dark shadow wraps around him, ready to shut down this cocky kid, with pure savage focus. He dives in, giving number 98 the beating he literally begged for. The crash shakes the school walls, bringing a super fast end to this fight. Leonard was basically playing with his food the whole time, effortlessly snatching badge number 98 right off his chest. Up in a high window, a masked watcher smiles, totally intrigued by the insane power Leonard has been hiding. Leonard glances up, feeling the guy staring at him. The stalker is completely shocked that the kid sensed him from all the way down there. Turns out the watcher is Saul, the supervisor in charge of monitoring all the trainees. He notes this batch is going to be wildly entertaining. Smirking, Saul finishes his report, hyped to see what recruit number 381 does next. Leonard walks off like a boss, totally aware he is officially number 98. Meanwhile, panic hits the hallways as rumors spread that the new beast is heading to the training grounds. A messenger sprints past, screaming that William ordered them to block the new owner of badge number 98. Let's pause right here. A gorgeous noble girl watches the drama unfold, wondering why William is so obsessed with this guy. Enter Burita Cardenas, the rank number 2. She's a blonde, golden-eyed stunner oozing pure elegance and brain power. Burita instantly realizes the wild rumors are true, especially when she sees William's goons knocked out cold on the dirt. Another rookie goes flying through the air after catching a hand from Leonard, who just keeps marching forward. Leonard delivers a savage high kick while Burita watches his moves, totally hooked. The dude on the ground yells at Leonard to shut up and join their squad already, but Leonard is just like, I already told you. No way, preparing to end this joke once and for all. With a massive uppercut, Leonard launches the rank 25 guy sky high, completely shattering his guard. In a quick slick move, Leonard rips the badge right off his chest midair. I will be taking this, he says coolly, leaving the former number 25 eating dirt, totally humiliated. That is when Burita Cardenas elegantly strolls over, congratulating him on speeding up to rank 25. Leonard gives her the side-eye, but she claims she has a special vision to see past the surface. Using her skill, Burita peeps Leonard's insane physical build and the glowing gold energy flowing through his veins. She points to the badge number 25 he is holding, acknowledging his crazy talent. Leonard instantly notices she has clairvoyance, a super rare and cheat-like trait for someone her age. Burita flexes the power of her mind's eye, the exact power that makes her the rightful number 2 in the clan. She asks him why he is going solo when tomorrow's training is literally impossible to beat alone. Suddenly, William Cardenas cuts in, coldly ordering everyone to stand down as his massive, terrifying presence dominates the area. William confronts Burita Cardenas, spitting absolute shade at her for leaking top-secret strategic clan info, under the heavy crush of William's boot. The beaten recruit squirms in absolute pain, completely helpless. The arrogant number 1 openly trashes his own followers, calling them total trash for failing such an easy job. Leonard Cardenas Corleone studies the newcomer, realizing William's heavy pressure is definitely the real deal. Leonard steps forward with zero fear, completely unfazed by the arrival of the top-ranked trainee. Leonard and William lock eyes, tasting the tension. The number 1 mockingly remarks that the new kid sure took his sweet time showing up. With zero fear, Leonard says he has plenty of gas in the tank and dares William to fight him right then and there. A thick vein pops on William's forehead at Leonard's cockiness, and he warns the kid to watch his mouth and remember who he is messing with. That is when Burita Cardenas bursts out laughing, totally breaking the tension. And trust me, you and I are going to love seeing where this rivalry goes next. Yo, stick with me here. No one has ever dared to talk to the number 1 like that. Terita quickly tries to wrap things up, suggesting. Leonard has zero interest in teaming up with anyone, especially with real training starting tomorrow. William decides to back off for now, claiming he only came down to personally test the worth of the new number 25, but before he leaves, William drops a super shady warning, telling Leonard he better not regret provoking him. Leonard just takes the temporary peace with total chill, keeping his crimson eyes locked on the back of the apprentice ruling the clan. The young guy thinks about the upcoming training, knowing the main line wants to force them into factions early. Tomorrow the joint training kicks off, and the vibe is already incredibly heavy before sunrise. Bruno, the head instructor, rolls up and asks if all the recruits have gathered up for the briefing yet. An assistant approaches him in the woods to hand over a detailed status report. He mentions that while they were setting up the groups, one specific recruit started causing some major unexpected drama. Bruno listens closely, keeping that signature grumpy face of a tough senior instructor. Turns out, this guy insists on doing the entire training completely solo without joining a single faction. They made it clear that this is pure survival in the massive and deadly Cardenas forest. They have to live off the land, hunt their own food, and handle everything themselves. Because of that, most recruits teamed up under the top 4. The biggest group is Squad A, led by William Cardenas himself, commanding 100 rookies. Then comes Squad B, led by that noble girl, number 2, who watches everything with her usual sharp eyes. Squad C is packed with the outcasts who are not from the main family, led by a blue-haired girl, and Squad D is run by Dylan Cardenas. Even the leftovers who did not fit in anywhere ended up grouped in Squad E under some low-rank leader. Now watch closely because the assistant gets super nervous as he reveals the final report for candidate number 25. Lanner Cardenas Corleone is completely breaking the rules of this training. He is literally the entire Squad F, packing his bag with unreal chill. Lanner scans the area. He knows that with such a massive map, the absolute first priority is locking down a solid base ASAP. Bruno sneaks up behind him and is shocked by how little gear the kid is taking into the woods. The instructor notices he only packed water and some cookies, which will barely keep him alive for 2 days. But Lanner does not even blink, saying it is plenty and pointing out that the whole point is self-sufficiency. He knows this whole thing is actually going to be a complete bloodbath of stealing badges. Suddenly, Dylan Cardenas cuts in, asking to speak to number 25 for a second, acting all high and mighty. Dylan warns him that going solo is a death wish, no matter how you look at it. He offers him a spot, but he has that major snake vibe. Lanner spots instantly. Lanner barely even looks at him and tells him to get lost, making it clear he does not want him meddling. He already realized Dylan is just faking nice to use him as bait. Dylan keeps pushing, bragging that his offer is way better than the massive squads of the other leaders. Lanner cuts him off, saying he is not interested in going on a picnic with them, and feels zero need to explain why. That is when Dylan drops the nice guy act, getting pissed and saying he finally gets why William hates him so much. You and I both saw that fake smile coming, right? Now he decides to force Lanner into line, launching a crazy fast attack that would completely shock any normal recruit. He draws his sword and yells at Lanner to join him while throwing a wild horizontal slash. The blade barely misses Lanner, but he dodges with millimeter precision, avoiding the hit effortlessly. Dylan is left totally frozen when his supposedly perfect attack does not even touch a single hair. Lanner uses some insane footwork, gliding around with a smoothness that leaves Dylan completely lost. With a sharp snap, Lanner takes the opening and lands a blow that totally ruins his balance. Dylan starts panicking. He did not even feel a single drop of malice or anger in Lanner's moves. He ends up biting the dust in the most embarrassing way, crashing down before everyone. Before Lanner can walk off, a heavy hand grabs his shoulder, stopping him in his tracks. It is Bruno, who acknowledges his talent, warning him that this is not the actual exercise yet, but letting him head out first. Lanner just shrugs it off coldly, showing zero hype over his win. On the inside, Lanner is on high alert. He knows that instructor is a legit monster since he could not sense him at all. Lanner heads deep into the massive forest. He knows there are beasts here that would have given him trouble even in his past life. The Cardenas clan definitely lives up to its hype as the strongest on the continent. He is shocked that kids this young are already waking up such insane talents. To have so many prodigies pop up one after another. Clearly, the Cardenas bloodline hides a dark secret, but he has no time for theories. Right now, he needs to focus on securing a solid base before anyone else. Meanwhile, Bruno calls for a situation update just as the training kicks off. An assistant confirms that clashes between the squads started way earlier than usual. This time, William's squad wasted zero time finding a base and launched a direct assault straight at Squad C. Caught completely off guard, the members of that squad were utterly overwhelmed in the blink of an eye. Except for number 3, who barely escaped with her life, the rest of her team got wiped off the map. Bruno admits William's move is smart, seeing how sharp the kid is. Our head instructor knows the top dog is playing chess, not checkers. And trust me, you and I are going to love seeing what happens when this fight drags on. Alright, you and I are about to dive into this wild test, where feeding a huge squad is brutal. That is why he used his numbers early before others could even organize. Bruno is now asking for updates on squads B and D after seeing what just went down. The young noble and Dylan teamed up to slow William down. The instructor nods, calling it a wise move. Since their reaction was way faster than the previous classes, he then turns directly to instructor Sen to get the breakdown on the remaining groups. Sen, rocking her signature blue hair, stands at attention and says she is ready. She mentions Squad E has not really done much since. They chose their leader, but when she gets to number 25, she hesitates. She does not even know where to start with Lanner. Sen was spying on him from the shadows when he stumbled on a weird cave. She completely freezes when Lanner calls her out, despite her top-tier stealth skills. The guy slowly turns around and says he has got a major question for her. She quickly realizes he knew she was there. He totally clocked her presence right from the start. Lanner just casually strolls toward the cave. Showing zero fear about whatever is lurking inside, Sen steps out of hiding and straight up asks what number 25 wants to know. He knows the cave is occupied but insists on sleeping there tonight. Pay attention here because with a cold stare, he asks if this giant beast is a Cardina's pet. Right on cue, a massive dire wolf leaps from the darkness, launching a savage attack. Sen explains it is a trained beast, way too tough for a solo rookie to beat. She watches closely to see if Lanner is just bluffing, ready to step in if things get messy. But from HQ, Bruno radios in and tells her to let him try. This is also part of the exam. The instructor lays down the challenge. If he kills it, the cave is his to use. Suddenly, the wolf charges with insane force, making the entire forest ground shake. Lanner easily dodges the leap and comments that for a pet, this beast actually moves pretty well. But he is not about to give up such a cozy sleeping spot. The dire wolf recovers and gets ready to charge again, looking even angrier than before. The beast starts growling, wrapped in a scary aura that says playtime is over. It lets out a deafening howl that sends wind and leaves flying everywhere. Lanner senses pure bloodlust coming from the wolf, like it has completely lost its mind. He knows if he holds back and gets hurt, it will cause trouble for the instructor, so he grips his sword tightly. Lanner charges in with total confidence, warning the beast that this is gonna hurt, with a lightning-fast, precise strike. He intercepts the giant wolf midair before those jaws can snap shut. He dodges the beast with a level of chill that no ordinary rookie should have. He knows damn well he is not losing to some dog, no matter how terrifying the clan claims it is. And yeah, I know what you're thinking, he is just too overpowered. He slams the beast down in one shot, leaving instructor Sen absolutely speechless at how number 25 dominated this thing alone. She seriously wonders if someone at his training tier is even supposed to be this ridiculously strong. The guy completely ignores her shock and focuses on securing his newly conquered cave, right in front of Sen's disbelief. Lanner orders the giant wolf to sit, and the beast obeys like a good little puppy. With a simple hand gesture, he tells it to stay. Showing absolute control over the apex predator, he keeps giving it basic commands like roll over, treating this terrifying beast like a regular house pet. The wolf even offers its paw submissively, totally submitting to his will. Lanner then turns around to look at Sen and asks if he can keep the wolf with him for the rest of the test. Sen hesitates for a second. Knowing anyone who can tame a dire wolf is a massive anomaly, she finally gives him permission, recognizing his insane taming skill. But with strict rules, she bans direct combat, only letting him use the beast for riding and tracking trails in the woods. Lanner agrees without complaining, while Sen warns him not to let his new pet bite other recruits, but our boy has his own plans. He knows this taming trick will be super useful for the future. Deciding it is time for some real training, he gives his fluffy new buddy a clear command. Reaching a fork in the road, Lanner decides they should split up to cover a lot more ground. He tasks the wolf with hunting for food and bringing back anything cool it finds, without wasting any time. The beast dashes off into the brush while Lanner heads down his own path, meanwhile in another part of the forest. William Cardenas mocks his opponents, asking if that is really all they have got. The number 1 fighter looks down on the fallen recruits with pure disgust. Complaining that such weaklings carry the clan blood, with massive arrogance, William pockets the stolen badges, whining that he is completely out of pocket space. He threatens the last standing recruit, promising to eliminate him next time they cross paths, miles away from that drama. The squad leader grinds his teeth, cursing his current situation in this test. Even with everyone attacking at once, they could not scratch William, who wrecked them effortlessly. The kid in the yellow coat knows they are basically sitting ducks in this forest unless they change up their strategy. He feels totally overwhelmed by the pressure of leading his squad and has absolutely no clue what to do next. His desperate teammates beg him for a direction, knowing they are cooked if another strong squad rolls up. He tries to recover, asking them to find food. Trust me, you and I need to see what happens next. All right, you and I are about to watch their hopes die the second a terrifying figure emerges from the brush. The captain spins around in pure horror, realizing something massive is blocking every single escape route. A colossal bear rears up on its hind legs, making it crystal clear that this squad just became its next meal. Just when all hope is lost, Lionel spawns out of nowhere and charges the beast with his sword drawn. The bear lets out a fierce roar right before getting intercepted by number 25's sudden arrival. The squad leader can barely believe his eyes, instantly recognizing the kid who just swooped in and saved their skins. With one decisive, clean strike, Lanner leaves the massive beast face down on the dirt, completely knocked out cold. Our main guy stands there looking completely bored, flashing his number 25 badge. Meanwhile, the squad leader starts screaming at him in a total rage, calling him heartless and demanding to know how much more he wants to take from them. Lanner does not even care. To him, that bear is just lunch for the next few days. Lionel calmly walks away while the squad leader watches him with a mix of shock and fear. The recruit is left totally dazed by the detached vibe of the kid who just saved his life. Acting completely unfazed, Lionel stops for a quick second just to check if the other kid is actually doing okay. The captain promises there are no major injuries, watching as number 25 starts heading back into the deep woods. Lon coldly clarifies that he only jumped into the fight because things were looking way too dangerous. He explains his only goal on this island is training to get stronger, not fighting over other people's badges. He bluntly adds that if he ever decides to hunt down targets to win, he will do it with way more caution. The other recruits start whispering about the insanely fast pace at which Lanner has been climbing the ranks of the clan. The guy in the yellow jacket drops his head, admitting defeat and realizing he owes Lanner his life. He gives a genuine thank you, admitting that his interference saved them from being instantly knocked out of the game. Lionel is about to snap back that he did not mean to save them when a weird rumble cuts him off. Now pay attention here. A massive rumbling noise and a wild presence put the whole group on high alert, staring at the dark forest. Glowing eyes emerge from the thick brush, revealing the giant, imposing form of the dire wolf Lanner tamed earlier. The beast is carrying someone right in its massive jaws, which absolutely triggers a massive wave of panic among the squad recruits, while everyone else is screaming bloody murder. Lanner barks out a sharp, direct command telling the creature to sit. The wolf obeys instantly, dropping the unconscious body of the person it sniffed out right onto the ground. Lan walks over to check out the mystery package, wondering who this beaten-up person is that his pet just dragged in. He realizes it is actually the leader of Squad C, a girl holding that super valuable number 3 badge. The recruit is left in total shock seeing someone as insanely powerful as number 3 get wiped out and carried like a dog toy. To them, the wolf is terrifying. But Lanard's absolute coldness and insane power are way more chilling. Lano takes a look at a wounded recruit and notices the claw marks run deep. He wonders if some crazy beast did this, or if the top 2 rankers have finally made their move. The kid, number 438, refuses to give up despite being totally wrecked. Lanner stares at him with interest, seeing he has zero plans to throw in the towel. Instead of snatching his badge, Lanner tosses him the carcass of a giant beast. He hunted down, he tells them to keep it so everyone has plenty of food to survive. The whole squad is completely stunned by this unexpected gift. Lan tells them not to obsess over the number on their chests, and honestly, you and I can see his point as he walks away with his massive white wolf following closely behind. As he strolls away, he laughs to himself, thinking the other recruits are getting the complete wrong idea about him being some nice guy. Cut to another spot where the blue-haired girl suddenly wakes up on a blanket, sits up and looks at the stars, realizing she is stranded in the middle of nowhere. Seeing bandages wrapped around her arms, she wonders who the heck dared to patch her up. "Are you awake?" Leonard asks, stepping out of the shadows and scaring her half to death. Lore tosses his cloak aside, barely caring about how startled she is. Instinctively, she reacts by throwing a lightning-fast kick. But Lanner does not even blink, blocking her strike with his arm like it is nothing. "Looks like your legs are working just fine," he says casually, telling her to save her strength and get some proper rest. She is extremely suspicious, screaming at him to hand her badge back right now. Lan just stares back at her with a total poker face. She quickly checks herself and realizes her number 3 badge is still on her chest. Lannard never took it. Lannard keeps walking back to the campfire, completely ignoring her yelling. She admits he saved her life, but repeats that she is not giving up her badge. Leonard makes it clear he has zero interest in stealing her stuff. The guy pulls out a piece of roasted meat and offers it. She is shocked, wondering if he is serious. They sit down together and Lunar tells her a kid should not be starving, so she better eat up. She starts devouring the food like crazy while Lannard asks her what happened to her squad. Squad C, she stays quiet for a second, just staring blankly into the flames. Leonard asks if it was some kind of monster. But she shakes her head. She grinds her teeth, remembering the absolute humiliation of setting up their base. Turns out Squad A ambushed them and completely wiped them out in a split second. "It was a total slaughter, we stood zero chance," she admits, feeling like the absolute worst squad leader ever. Lanner explains that in team fights, rookies always panic because they lack experience, but there are always solid ways to turn the tables on them. He points out that newbies do not know tactics, so surprise attacks and high pressure work incredibly well. Leonard spots the deep wounds on her arm and guesses that number 1 did this to her. She confirms that Guy is an absolute beast. The fire crackles as Leonard analyzes the other teams. The girl curses her luck, absolutely hating the fact that she lost without even landing a single solid hit of her own. Leonard smiles seeing her fighting spirit, and trust me, you and I both know she's going to become one beast of a warrior down the line. Alright y'all, get ready because things are getting serious as Lanner warns the B squads are dropping fast, meaning they desperately need an alliance. But Leonard knows that squad surely has a plan to prevent a wipeout. He thinks of the number 1 ranker, William, knowing that guy is way too meticulous to leave any loose ends. Then Wanner drops the master plan. They are going straight for Squad A's weak point. She has absolutely no clue what he means, but Lanner already has the number 1 ranker in his sights. Inside his head, Manuel envisions this whole battle like a high-stakes chess match, where that number 1 player is the crucial piece holding the entire board together. He explains their rival's crazy strength comes from having an absolute beast of a leader who calls the shots instantly. But the key, if they smash that pillar, the whole squad will completely crumble into pure chaos. Now, snapping back to reality. She admits she is dying to get payback on William for what he did. Leonard stares her down, telling her that if she seriously wants to win, she just needs to trust him. Check this out, the blue-haired girl silently processes his proposal, then grins and says she should probably start calling him captain, officially accepting his leadership. Meanwhile, deep in another part of the woods, a massive line of squad of students marches down the main trail. You guys are late, a cold voice rings out from the front. William Cardenas, the number 1 ranker, struts arrogantly alongside his lackeys. He assures them there is absolutely no need to rush, since time is on their side and victory is totally guaranteed. Walking right beside him is another recruit. But William is locked in on what is ahead, calmly whispering that they are finally about to see some action. His glowing yellow eyes pierce through the thick woods, instantly spotting hidden enemies that the others completely missed. Out of nowhere, William throws up a fist and orders his entire squad to halt and prep for an immediate battle. The recruits slam their boots to a halt on the dirt trail, kicking up a cloud of dust as they wait for their next order. William draws his blade and throws a cocky warning into the air, saying hiding is fine if they actually know their place. But surrendering would be a whole lot smarter if they already know they cannot win. Quit hiding and show yourselves already, he commands, making the silent forest feel incredibly tense. A huge group of ambushers from the other squads suddenly pops out of the bushes, asking if he seriously just sensed them. One of them mocks him as dozens of recruits surround William's squad from every angle, totally hyped to take down the number 1 ranker together. William is not even slightly bothered by how many enemies showed up. The proud lion has a much better nose than they expected. He mutters sarcastically. Walking next to him, Dylan Cardenas and the number 2 ranker join in, with Dylan mocking the attackers, asking if they should be called dogs instead of lions. William glares at the crowd with pure, unadulterated disgust. He claims that anyone sitting in a position of power can easily read what these weaklings are plotting, and their plans are not even worth talking about. With a freezing stare, William calls them out for daring to stand against him with such trash-tier skills, while the number 2 noble girl smirks maliciously in the background. She calls this entire group a massive embarrassment to the Cardenas family name, and Dylan jumps on the chance to roast the opposing squad leader. Weren't you the guy who loved boasting, he asks, mocking him as a flashy peacock instead of a warrior. This is called dignity, you useless woman, Dylan roars as he charges forward to kick off the fight. Instantly, the battle explodes right in the middle of the path. The recruits charge in, kicking up massive clouds of dirt and leaves. A heavy blow slams into the ground, carving out a small crater and sending out shockwaves that stun nearby fighters. Watch closely as William, Dylan, and number 2 move incredibly fast, completely sweeping the first wave of attackers with laser-focused strikes. Despite the leaders dominating, the other squads try desperately to regroup, screaming for everyone to get moving. Crush Squad A, an enemy commander, screams in total panic, while his guys desperately try to lock down their defense. They order everyone to hold the line and block William's team at all costs. The fight devolves into a chaotic, messy brawl as clashing metal and screaming echoes through the entire forest. Multiple attackers go flying through the air from William's insane power. More importantly, what kind of crazy mana trait does this monster have? They wonder in absolute horror, while the number 2 noble girl is pushed to her absolute limit. She realizes her opponent is insanely fast and hitting ridiculously heavy, leaving her wrists throbbing just from blocking. William watches the chaos unfold with pure, icy coldness. Almost like he is following a script already written in his mind. What kind of monster is this guy? One recruit screams, horrified by how brutally William demolishes his opponents. A gloved hand grips the hilt of a sword with insane force. just as William gears up to deliver a final, devastating blow to their line. William looks over at Dylan and number 2, who think they have him cornered, asking if they really teamed up just to show him such cheap tricks. He scoffs. Dylan Cardenas is heavily gasping for air, completely overwhelmed by the crushing physical and mental pressure William is pushing onto them. William sweeps Dylan off his feet with a smooth, humiliating move, shutting him down in a blink, spotting what she thinks is a golden opening. The number 2 noble girl lunges forward for a sneaky backstab, yelling with total overconfidence that he is wide open. Charging in, she thinks that even a god like William cannot easily guard a blind spot, claiming she can see his muscles tensing up to react. But pure terror suddenly hits her when she realizes William is not even trying to dodge. Wait, leaving a massive opening like this? No way. It clicks too late. She realizes it is a deadly trap and he planned this from the start. Meanwhile, William spins with superhuman speed. William unleashes a mana-fueled counterattack that completely lights up the entire battlefield, slamming into her rapier with devastating, earth-shattering power. At least you are better than number 4, William sneers while blocking. And honestly, you and I both know she realized her mistake way too late. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a brutal sword clash where William mocks her special eyes, calling them totally imperfect and trash-tier slow. William glares with terrifying intensity, comparing her slow moves to number 25, mentioning Leonard with a weird mix of pure curiosity and hate. With an incredibly precise slash, William breaks right through the noble girl's defense. She screams in absolute agony, crushed by the top dog's power as her hand desperately claws at the dry grass on the dirt. William Cardenas, the number 1 rank, stands tall over the defeated number 2 noble girl lying helpless at his feet. He arrogantly tells her she was hyped up for nothing and she should just take the loss like a champ. William glares ahead with a cold face, claiming he will be the only winner of this training drill, but man, he is jumping the gun. A calm voice echoes from the dark trees, and Leonard Cardenas Corleone steps out. He is dragging a knocked-out student while Dylan and number 2 stare in absolute shock as Lan struts with his number 25 badge. Walking totally chill while dragging a beaten foe by the shirt, William freezes when our main character makes his epic entrance. William loses his mind at the interruption, demanding to know what he is doing, but Lanner acts like it is no big deal. Lanner drops the guy flat onto the dirt, saying he just came to pay him back for trashing his squad. Now watch closely. William laughs with shaky hatred and asks your squad, totally freaked by Lanner's calm vibe. He screams that trash like him doesn't even have a real squad, but Lanner just glares right back at him with his glowing crimson eyes, totally unfazed, calmly explaining to the forest clearing that indeed he did not have one at first. William feels the vibe instantly shift, nervously glancing at the thick woods, realizing he has totally lost control of this fight. Suddenly, a whole wave of low-rank students bursts out of the bushes, charging forward with insane grit. Lan explains how the underdogs everyone called trash rose up in a massive organized rebellion, attacking like an absolute freight train. They scream at the top of their lungs, crushing the elite recruit defenses as a fighter from number 438 proudly holds up a golden point badge, shouting with pure joy that they are finally ready. The kid hypes up his squad mates, promising that with this loot, they can survive and beat this drill against all odds. The low-rankers go wild over their victory, chanting praises to number 25 for giving them a real shot at winning. Leonard and the blue-haired girl slowly walk up, totally startling recruit 438, while Vainel coldly apologizes for crashing their big celebration. Leonard extends an open hand, offering to make an official, formal alliance with them. The recruit flinches, worried that Lanner will just steal their hard-earned points, nervously explaining that they are just a tiny, weak squad. And you might think that is true, but Lan just exchanges a quick look with his blue-haired ally, completely disagreeing. He seriously warns them not to get fooled by stupid labels, demanding respect with his tone. He explains that since they all did the brutal Cardenas training, their growth potential is basically the same, and rankings are just useless tags. Recruit 438 is stunned and elite thinks like this, as Leonard closes his eyes, firmly reminding them that they all carry family blood and latent talent waiting to explode, and aside from the tiny minority who awaken special cheat-like traits, base strength is practically equal. It stays identical as long as they push themselves hard enough, which is why Leonard points to the number 3 girl. She comes from a side branch of the family and climbed to the top using nothing but her unstoppable, pure willpower. Then he holds himself up as living proof, climbing from rank 381 to 25 with sweat and Grit asking if that is not absolute proof that rankings are fake, assuring them only a tiny group is truly above them with the actual power to stomp everyone else, making Recruit 438 visibly shake as he insists their issue goes way past raw muscle, but Lanner cuts him off with a sharp, commanding hand gesture. He firmly tells them that their combat skill is not the issue here, standing tall before the demoralized squad. He says they just lack the heart and the absolute guts to believe in their own power, staring directly into their very souls. Asking if they ever gave 100% to a goal and fought like hell to smash their limits. A hand clenches into a fist packed with fire as he says, "If you do not believe in yourselves, I will." "I promise you can win," Lanner declares, reaching out his hand in brotherhood as the official leader of Squad F. He invites them to team up and crush the tyrannical number 1 together, and now, the blue-haired girl leads the epic new alliance. "Do it for number 25, he believed in us," the recruits scream, diving headfirst into the chaotic battle. She watches from a high rock as William, Dylan, and number 2 get completely cornered, while William talks trash about leading losers. And that is where we leave it, with Leonard standing strong and the number 3 girl smiling wickedly. She reminds them Leonard already wrecked her once, catching her absolute best kick barehanded like it was child's play. Leonard just stays quiet while she warns them that number 25's moves are lethal compared to theirs, and trust me, you and I are about to watch William absolutely lose his cool. His face turning bright red from pure, bottled-up rage. Lanner's ally chimes in, saying she definitely did not sign up with some loser, but with someone whose power is completely off the charts. Nearby, a bunch of low-ranking academy kids actually managed to beat down one of William's top guys. "Look at that, my squad is schooling your so-called elites," she mocks. Meanwhile, Leonard keeps his eyes locked on the young noble ranking number 2, who suddenly cracks up laughing right in the middle of all this chaos. She drops to one knee before Lanner, smiling as she admits she finally gets it. She voluntarily forfeits, asking if she can join Lannard's squad F2. Elnard shifts his gaze over to Dylan Cardenas, who also bends the knee after realizing it is just logical to yield to Lanner's overwhelming strength. Dylan lets out a bitter laugh, confessing he would rather serve Lannard than get utterly humiliated by someone he looks down on. William Cardenas's face is totally twisted with rage and embarrassment from the absolute shock of his own allies betraying him. "You dirty traitors," William screams, pointing his sword right at his old squad mates, desperately asking them if they have zero pride in the blood running through their veins. William grits his teeth with a quiet boiling anger while Lannard points out they all share Cardena's blood anyway, telling him to stop being stubborn and accept the loss. Leonard Cardenas Corleone, the guy holding number 25, just stands there looking cool as ice despite his opponent screaming bloody murder. With sunlight filtering through the trees, William points his blade at Lanner, proposing they settle the fate of squads A, G, and F in a one-on-one duel. Right here, right now, with pure hatred burning in his eyes, William roars that he will personally show him the massive gap in their power. No running away allowed. A smug smile spreads across Lan's face, and he casually responds that he was actually planning this exact showdown from the very beginning. Leonard starts unsheathing his sword in one smooth motion, muttering that honestly, he should be the one warning about the power difference. Suddenly, golden trails of energy start swirling all around Lan. And Lan gets ready with a deadpan face, basically begging William to bring it. High up on the balcony, Bradley is keeping a close watch, well aware that this match between number 1 and number 25 is basically the grand finale. The hype in the air is totally insane. Everyone wants to see if the king keeps his crown, or if the underdog pulls off the ultimate upset. William strikes first with heavy, bone-crushing force. But Lanner does not budge an inch. Their swords crash together, sending sparks flying everywhere while William proves exactly why he holds the top spot with some brutal, heavy-hitting thrusts. Lanner quickly realizes this guy is no joke. Every single block feels like it is shattering his arms. William stares him down, looking totally bored and superior while pushing a fast pace that leaves zero breathing room. Even with those heavy strikes coming in, Lanner stays cool, analyzing the attack patterns and finding them surprisingly easy to read. Suddenly, a wave of glowing blue energy wraps around William as he gears up to throw off their whole rhythm. Lannard's eyes go wide as an strike comes from an angle that makes absolutely zero sense. High up, Bradley admits this fight is way past what he expected. In the blink of an eye, Lan barely dodges a side thrust. Watch closely, because a single mistake means instant defeat. The veteran knight is stunned. Seeing some random, average recruit hold his own against the absolute best is practically unheard of. And William isn't just relying on muscle. Manold can feel a weird, invisible force reinforcing both his opponent's arms and sword. The secret is out. Number 1 has telekinesis, an invisible cheat code that makes him unstoppable up close. William starts unleashing a barrage of wild slashes, striking from crazy angles that would break a normal human's bones, but Lannon keeps his cool. His glowing red eyes track the energy flows, preparing for a counterattack. Suddenly, a blade comes swinging from a dead blind spot, where landing a strong hit is physically impossible, but William literally cheats physics by focusing his telekinetic power. His muscles tense up to the limit, releasing a wave of pure destructive energy that literally cracks the air. It is raw, god-tier power that completely shatters standard logic. William pauses, genuinely shocked that a low-tier rookie figured out the secret of his special power so quickly. The ground explodes from the heavy, invisible pressure as William strikes, and here is the twist: he realizes Lanner hasn't been playing fair either. Number 25 was hiding his true power all along. Why did you keep this secret? William roars at him. He is sick of this guy refusing to submit to his greatness. Lanner just glares back with icy eyes, telling him his sword will do the talking. The family crest glows brightly as William boasts about being the only worthy heir. Smirking, he decides a strong opponent just makes things more fun, since crushing him will taste way sweeter. Lanner barely dodges a massive side slash that slices the wind, forcing him to leap backward. The sword strike tears a deep crater into the dirt, proving William did not get that top ranking by some lucky fluke. William raises his sword for a final strike, warning Lanner not to cry if he ends up crippled after this hit. Elnard stands perfectly still, daring him to show everyone what the so-called pride of the Cardenas family can actually do. William puts on his combat mask, unleashing a freezing blue aura. As Lionel curses his weak body, "Trust me, you're going to want to see what happens next. Stick with me, you and I are about to watch our guy win without using any cheat code powers." He grips his training sword, deciding he will win using nothing but the pure sword skills from his past life. His eyes flash with absolute killer intent as the very air begins to vibrate with pure battle pressure. Lannard drops into a low stance, kicking up a literal dust storm around him as he channels everything into one explosive strike. He blasts forward like lightning, clashing head-on with William's invisible strikes in a lethal dance of pure steel and willpower. William admits number 25 is pretty slick at dodging, but vows he won't escape his telekinetic trap for much longer. "Take this," William screams, unleashing a crazy barrage of slash attacks that cover the entire area. The strikes slam violently into a log, shattering it into 1,000 tiny splinters while Lannard slips right through the chaos. Lannard pulls off a wild flip midair, using William's own wind force to get the ultimate high ground. Watching from the sidelines, Dylan and the young noble lady are totally jaw-dropped, finally realizing why nobody could read William's crazy moves before. William was actually using his power to hide his real trait right in front of everyone, which Dylan Straytup calls cheap cheating. Lannard moves with some serious cheat code speed, dodging every single thrust while the crowd starts to suspect number 25 is the one hiding his real power. Dylan laughs it off, asking how it is unfair when the number 1 ranked guy can't even land a single scratch on him. Ignoring all the shouting, Lannard calmly exploits every opening to get up close and personal. The Green Band recruit watches in utter shock as Lannard literally runs circles around William, completely dominating the rhythm of the battle. Bradley notices that Lannard is making all of this look like mere luck. Now pay attention, because William has no idea he's falling into a trap. Like a predator stalking its prey, Lannard gets in position for the final blow while his opponent keeps swinging at thin air. Exhaustion and pure rage finally catch up to William, and he can't even hide his sheer desperation anymore in front of the crowd. William completely freezes as he realizes Lannard has suddenly materialized right in his blind spot, ready to end this match once and for all. "You lost, number 1, Lannard whispers, his eyes glowing red as he shatters the clan hierarchy. Suddenly, a massive blast of golden light swallows both of them as Lannard unleashes all his built-up power into one single point. The hit is so insanely brutal that William gets sent flying through the air, completely helpless against that level of power. William coughs up a mouthful of blood as he crashes onto the dirt, realizing with absolute horror that a low-ranking recruit just completely wrecked him. Lannard just watches his rival go down while standing perfectly composed, making sure the duel is officially over. A thick cloud of dust and debris rises from the crater where William lies defeated, completely silencing the entire training ground, slumped in the mud. William stares at his shattered sword in broken pride, realizing he actually lost. A terrifying shadow of death looms over him, reminding him that in a real war, Lannard wouldn't have given him a second chance. Lannard points the tip of his blade right at William's face, putting an end to this historic showdown. With a calm vibe that commands respect, number 25 proves that the official rankings of the Cardenas clan don't mean a single thing anymore. William lets out a dry, bitter laugh, finally accepting that he has run into someone who is light years ahead of him. With his squadmates and the young noble lady watching in stunned silence, William formally admits his defeat to Lannard. The crowd explodes into a deafening cheer as the undefeated number 1 finally falls to the mysterious number 25. Bradley watches the field with deep respect, admitting he never expected such insanely polished skills from a mere apprentice. William actually thanks Lannard for opening his eyes. Feeling like he's finally broken free from the chains of his own ego, Lannard is honestly surprised by this sudden change of attitude. Who seems to have found some weird peace in losing. William remembers his father's suffocating expectations, a brutal burden he finally escaped thanks to this match. Lannard watches him with a questioning look, trying to process this sudden maturity from his former rival. William makes a respectful hand gesture, closing the chapter of their intense rivalry with an unprecedented act of humility. Still sitting on the ground, William tells Lannard it was a great fight, openly acknowledging his talent in front of everyone. Lannard lets out a deep sigh of relief, letting all that built-up combat tension finally fade away. Both warriors seal their newfound respect with a solid handshake while the other recruits watch in total disbelief. Outside, the regular soldiers can't believe their eyes. The absolute weakest squad just completely dethroned the elite A squad. Nearby, 2 recruits complain bitterly. Having put all their money and hope on William winning this duel, Bradley just smiles with satisfaction. Knowing this massive upset will shake the clan to its core and bring some much-needed change, the Squad E crew hoists Lannard onto their shoulders. Celebrating the sweet end of this brutal training arc, Dylan and his partner look over the results, admitting Squad E has some serious potential that absolutely nobody saw coming. You and I both love a good underdog story, right? These guys just proved that even so-called trash can win. Bradley thinks about how mature Lannard is, realizing the kid fully understood that training was about way more than just mindless fighting. The veteran knight gives the blue-haired girl her final orders to prep for the survivor's triumphant return. Suddenly, an urgent message bearing the main house's seal arrives, announcing that the legendary blood awakening ceremony is about to start. Far from the wild celebrations, Lannard meets up with a giant, snow-white wolf in the mountains. The massive beast lets out a sad whimper, finally realizing that Lannard has to leave and that it can't follow him on his journey. Lannard gives his wild buddy one last affectionate look, thanking the wolf for all its help before departing. They both look up at the full moon together. He gently strokes its fur, promising to get stronger so they can meet again. And that's where we leave it for now. See ya. Alright, you and I are diving into this wild ride, where Lannard promises his wolf pal he'll get insanely strong in return. The wolf lets out a dramatic goodbye howl, totally vibing with the kid who helped him level up his training. Walking away, Lannard tells his wild bestie to train hard so he can keep up in the future under that shiny moonlight. The wolf's silhouette looks epic on that rock, wrapping up a massive chapter for our brand new number 1 champ. Inside the carriage back, Lannard and William sit in awkward silence now that their ranks are completely flipped upside down. William asks why everyone is cramming into one ride without caring about ranks, but the blue-haired girl and the noble lady just laugh it off, basically declaring Lannard their new boss. Dylan is just staring at Lannard, totally mind-blown that someone actually jumped from rank 381 to number 1 in a single month. William tries to break the ice, bragging that he has some major tea about how their future training is gonna go down. The blue-haired girl roasts him, saying Lannard beat him so hard he got brain damage, which gets him instantly triggered. Shaking off the roasts, William explains that starting tomorrow, their daily loot depends entirely on their new ranks. Things get serious when they bring up the blood awakening ceremony, the big ritual that unlocks their clan's true potential. William explains their Cardenas bloodline has a special organ that normal humans do not, which must be woken up through this ritual. Dylan and the noble girl are locked in, finally realizing why their past training was just basic combat baby steps. Now pay attention, because this awakening is what actually unlocks next level, super free control over their mana power. Passing this trial gives them the right to join the elite young dragon knights, and Lionel is all ears hearing about the secret squad. He knows this is classified info that normal people never hear about, and the noble girl adds that the order focuses on real, deadly combat and custom-tailored training to unlock a recruit's full power. Lan asks if these special organs vary, and they all nod in agreement. Dylan uses a flashy magic hologram to show that these organs are mana cores, each with different attributes and counts. The blue-haired girl chimes in that even though their clan claims they have dragon blood, nobody actually knows if it's real. William jumps in to explain that having fewer cores actually makes your training and power leveling way faster and cleaner. With a super smug look, William flexes that he has a single core, which is basically peak genetic lottery luck. The noble girl giggles and tells Lanner not to sweat it, explaining that a single core genius only pops up once every 10 years anyway. Lanner thinks it over, realizing this system is just like the training he mastered as a sword emperor in his past life. Meanwhile, the blonde girl wonders if there are people with 5 cores matching the 5 main elements. William breaks down that every extra core doubles your resource costs and makes balancing your energy a total nightmare during training, as a handy graphic shows. You and I can see how efficiency drops with more cores, making multi-cores total lost causes, and a 5-core setup sounds like an absolute nightmare. Since it would take 25 times more resources than a single core, William's feelings get totally hurt when Dylan says he probably slept through theory class. The girls tease him, saying that with William's brute muscle power, he does not even need to worry about book smarts. Lon secretly realizes that if his past life skills work here, having multiple cores might actually be his ultimate cheat code. Dylan admits that a pentacore setup would theoretically be strongest, but grabbing that many resources is pretty much a pipe dream. Lanner decides he is aiming for a triple core, since being a single core prodigy would draw too much attention from the higher-ups. Finally, Manuel stands in the grand hall as his results drop, revealing that he is actually a legendary pentacore. The crowd goes wild with disappointment, crying that a sword genius got saddled with such a trash, useless bloodline talent. Laenel chills in a private palace garden, processing how his clan now views him as a broken anomaly. He scratches his head in frustration, realizing he got everyone's attention, but in the most backfired way possible. All of a sudden, his spidey senses tingle as his red eyes spot a blur rushing right at him. With absolute god-tier agility, Laenel dodges a barrage of invisible strikes that shred the palace floor. Lanner looks down at the rubble, low-key disappointed that he had to flex his power so hard. A hand wearing a gray gauntlet, wrapped in thick green mana smoke, shows up to call a truce on the fight. Commander Fabian steps out with big boss energy, his red cape sweeping the dust as he locks eyes with Lanner. With heavy, confident steps, the Dragon Knight leader approaches Lan, hyping up the insane rise of our former rank 381. Fabian sizes Lanner up, amazed by how smooth his stance is, totally lacking any of that wild, sloppy rookie energy. Lan grips his training sword tight, saying true sword technique is born on the inside before you even swing a blade. Commander Fabian nods slowly, realizing this kid gets a truth that most boomer veterans forgot ages ago. And trust me, you and I are gonna love how Fabian just busts out laughing at Lanner's absolute guts. With a sweat drop on his face, Lanner watches this giant laugh it up, instantly gaining his respect as Fabian introduces himself as a sword master. Alright, you and I are about to watch this commander swear on his life to back Lannard, leaving everyone in the room completely shook. The boss officially gives Lanner that sweet high-grade recruit status, promising him some major VIP treatment, but then, a night in. Shiny silver armor sneaks up to Fabian to whisper some bad news about the trash deer pandaner nature. Fabian straight up cuts him off, screaming so loud the walls shake. Caring absolutely 0% about technical details like mana cores. Talk about a man on a mission. The commander insists that raw talent deserves full backing, ignoring all rules or biological limits. Fabian's right-hand man quickly obeys, handing Lanner a super rare dimensional bag and promising it has everything he needs for his upcoming quests. Fabian tells Lanner that as a top-tier recruit, he gets to choose his own path. He leads him to a massive hall packed with glowing magic portals, where every single door leads to a different training ground. Normally, they just assign kids based on skill, but he earned the right to pick. Lanner wastes zero time and asks straight up where he can find the loot that actually matches his crazy power level. Fabian absolutely loves the vibe. He says anyone who is not ready to walk the path of pure pain does not deserve to be a warrior. Without hesitation, he points to a door and orders him to Carabagos. We are talking about the most remote island in the whole empire, totally cut off from civilization. He warns him that this place is so brutal, even newly promoted knights end up begging for mercy. Some zones are basically demon realms crawling with deadly beasts, but check this out, Lanner takes the challenge without even blinking, touching the portal and thanking Fabian. He knows training with 5 cores is borderline impossible because nobody has a clue how to do it. But our boy has a cheat code. His master plan is to make all 5 elements flow as one. If he levels them up together, he will be unstoppable. He feels like this is his golden ticket to surpass everything he ever did in his past life. Gear packed up. The kid steps through the blinding light as the boss wishes him luck. Coming out the other side, the glare is so intense he has to block his eyes for a second. Suddenly, he is standing right in front of a thick, creepy jungle. He has finally reached Carabagos. After just a few steps, a voice welcomes him from the dark woods. It is Bradley, who is shocked by how sneaky Leonard is, admitting he did not hear a single sound as the kid approached. Our boy introduces himself, keeping it totally cool. Bradley explains he runs this island and is a senior knight of the Young Dragon Order. He says they should move along since he still has to introduce him to the squad. He tells him everyone here is an apprentice, so he should show some respect to his seniors. Though Lan suspects the guy is Loki, hinting that it does not even matter, Bradley lays down the law. The second years are not allowed to mess with the rookies, so there is no reason to be scared. The plan is 6 months of safety under his wing, then the rest is pure solo survival training. He makes it clear that food and shelter are on him. But since he is a VIP, he gets a cabin to crash in. They arrive, and Bradley hands over a starter pack of basic supplies to get going. He warns him to use the spirit stones wisely and asks if he has any questions before he bails. Leonard wants to know the exact difference between the protection phase and the grind. Bradley says for now he has his back, but later he will only step in to stop others from bullying him. Lan asks if there is a rule against killing, and the knight firmly answers that murder is banned. Finally, our boy asks for the honest truth about the loot he just got, and check this out, when Bradley opens the bag, he freezes. Inside are 3,000 low-grade spirit stones and 100 elixirs for every stat. This is insanely stacked, not even the top recruits get this much. The commander is clearly going all in on him. Bradley explains that spirit stones are mana-infused minerals used to boost your internal energy flow. Leonard asks about the ranks, and Bradley explains that with this heap of loot, a regular noob could easily jump 10 levels. Even a guy with 5 cores could hit level 5 with no sweat using this haul. The knight decides to give him a quick crash course on how power levels work here. There are 5 major realms, and each one of them has 10 smaller stages of growth. First is the body tempering realm, where you train your muscles and use internal mana to expand your core. Second is the external force realm, where that cultivated mana shoots out of your body as a cool battle aura. Third is the Transcendence realm, which is the level where every fighter creates their own unique style. And fourth is the Demigod realm, where spirit rises above mind and raw willpower actually starts bending physical matter. Bradley keeps up the lecture, explaining that the 5th level is the realm of divinity, where you stop being human and straight up become a god. On screen, we see a gold-armored warrior standing over a defeated dragon. Bradley warns him that his peak power but brings Lanner back to Earth, saying that nobody, except the founder of the Cardenas clan, has ever reached that peak. He even gets a bit triggered, mentioning some fools call their founder a myth, which he takes as a total slap in the face. Finally, he decides enough talking, it is time for the real training. He orders the kid to start cultivating mana, using the gear he got to beef up his body and grow his core. He says it is simple, just absorb energy from the spirit stones. No rocket science here, bro. With that, Bradley leaves, telling him his future is in his own hands now. He slams the door shut, and honestly, you and I are about to see if he can survive this crazy grind. Alright, you and I are diving right back in, as Lanner stares at these magic rocks on the floor. He notices the air is absolutely packed with mana, like you could literally level up just by walking and breathing. Finding power isn't the issue, but absorbing it is the real trick, though our lucky guy just smiles because he's got this. See, he mastered this grind in his past life, and now he is working through the night under the bright moonlight. Even he is shocked by how fast he is cruising through, questioning if it should really be this insanely quick. In just a few hours, he already hit stage 3, and at this crazy rate, he knows he could reach stage 5 in one single day, flopping on the floor because this training is honestly way too easy. But finishing everything in 24 hours would totally blow his cover and spark some serious questions about his crazy talents. Fabian already thinks he is some legendary prodigy, so he has to chill, deciding to slowly rebuild his old techniques instead. This way, his cheat-like progress looks completely natural, but after 6 weeks, a bunch of rookies are staring at his cabin. They cannot believe Lanner has been locked inside there for so long, without ever stepping outside for a breather. One guy guesses he's hiding away until he hits stage 5, just so he can actually survive on this crazy island. Eventually, they get bored and go fishing, complaining that they are wasting precious time worrying about some random rookie. Walking away, they complain about getting loot, laughing about how they are basically on the exact same level as low-tier trash mobs. But watch closely right here because that squeaky old cabin door is finally creaking open. Leonard finally steps out, letting out a heavy sigh after being stuck in his room for so long. He fixes his tie and heads off to find Bradley for a real weapon, meeting him under a bright blue sky. Bradley asks why he even wants a steel sword, and Manor just says he needs to feel the real weight. The knight thinks this kid is acting pretty cocky, demanding Metal Gear already, but then, out of absolutely nowhere, Lanner unleashes a crazy strike that blows dust and rocks everywhere, leaving Radley completely speechless at his raw, brute force. He cannot believe a 5-core guy reached stage 3 in a single month, though he has to admit it is impressive. Still, Bradley flexes his scary red aura to put Lannard in his place, turning into a dark, spooky figure. I know what you're thinking, and yeah, our boy Lanner is totally shocked by this teacher going full savage mode. Radley cools down and hands him a sheathed sword, telling him to chill since it was just a little warning. He warns him not to do anything stupid with it, while Lanner bows politely and says thanks before heading out. The knight warns him that breaking it means paying with precious spirit stones, flashing a shiny gem to prove his point while Lan agrees. Bradley wishes him luck, leaving Lannard standing there holding his brand new real sword and a handy map. Now Manuel gets ready for phase 2 of his training, heading straight into the spooky remnant forest marked on his map. Deep inside the dark woods, the local monsters are already on the move. Sniffing out an intruder, which happens to be a pack of E2 ranked hobgoblins, but Lannard is ready to rumble. With one quick strike, he paints the dirt with monster blood, walking calmly while noting that messy smells always draw crowds. He glides around with crazy inhuman speed, barely leaving a single footprint on the dry leaves as he hunts them. This will be quick, he whispers, slicing through several beasts in one clean, perfectly timed sweep. As they die, their life force condenses into shiny little spirit stones, and Lanner watches closely as the magic gathers. He figures gathering 100 low-tier stones a day is a decent start, but he wants way more than that. This forest is basically a graveyard for weak E-ranked beasts that barely survive the brutal rules of natural selection. Suddenly, Lanner's danger senses tingle, making him look deep into the thick bushes after hearing a weird noise. He smells something way meaner than basic hobgoblins, an E-rank he notes. Grabbing his sword hilt tightly, he feels a real threat rushing in from the side, moving incredibly fast around him. It is not even hiding its bloodlust, treating him like food, but Lanner just stares coldly, ready to clash. His red eyes glow dangerously as he mentally tells the monster to back off, right before a loud boom shakes the clearing. The real showdown begins as a massive wolf-headed gnoll lunges forward with a giant, heavy stone axe. The crash of his weapon shatters the ground, throwing rocks and dust everywhere, showcasing his terrifying brute strength. Lanner dodges like a total boss, keeping his uniform spotless while telling the beast to shut its ugly mouth. And that's where we leave him, totally chill, while this ugly beast roars right in his face. Alright, you and I are diving into a wild fight, where Lannon blocks a massive strike that rattles his bones. He vaults right over the beast's head, using its own momentum to stay clear of those nasty, sharp claws. Time to dodge everything. He scans the area, noticing how the gnoll's raw power is literally cracking and wrecking the ground everywhere. Something seems off. This beast is way stronger than any average gnoll he was warned about before. He compares power levels in his head. Usually a basic imp is E1, while a hobgoblin is E2. A standard gnoll should be ranked D1, a tough level but manageable for normal clan rookies. But this freak is showing crazy speed and power that does not fit that classification at all. Lannard remembers that monsters sometimes awaken during their evolution, morphing into way more lethal versions of themselves. This thing is a rank day 3. Leonard smiles. Things are getting spicy. Looks like he has no choice, but he is not scared at all. Instead, Nano sees this as the perfect chance to test the limits of his freshly trained body. He unleashes a wave of blue mana, coating his blade as he dashes forward to launch a barrage of lightning-fast thrusts at the beast. He exploits the monster's slow, heavy swings to strike back, murmuring that there is no way such a clumsy swing could hit him while dodging the axe. Could ever touch me, he finishes as the desperate gnoll swings and misses, hitting nothing but thin air, in a blink. Manuel teleports right behind the beast, leaving a deep, bloody gash on its back, calmly watching sparks fly as his sword clashes with the monster's tough skin. The monster snaps into a blind rage, cloaked in a crimson aura as it winds up for one final, devastating strike. Now watch this, that heavy axe gets stuck deep in the dirt, and Lan instantly spots the fatal mistake. The creature relied too much on raw power, leaving a wide-open gap, with a swift, incredibly smooth move. Lan charges forward, catching the monster off guard as its red eyes widen in pure shock. He targets its weakest spots to ensure a clean, absolute finish. But you can't protect this, Lanard thinks, locking his eyes directly onto the creature's vulnerable face. With a razor-sharp, lethal slash, Lanard cuts down Null, ending this fierce battle in a split second. Peace returns to the forest as the echoes of battle vanish into the fog. Leonard stops to check the loot and gets a surprise. The beast dropped a remarkably pure spirit stone. Picking it up, he confirms it's a mid-grade crystal. It is worth 100 times more than low-grade stones, as the monster's remains dissolve into thin air. Lannon realizes how fast his power will skyrocket if he hunts more of these, deciding he's all done here for now. Lanel walks away with total satisfaction. Suddenly, a wooden door glows intensely from the inside with a mysterious blue light. Let's pause here. Look at Lanner Cardin's Corleone meditating as energy swirls around him, completely shocked to reach body tempering level 10 so fast. Making this much progress in months will definitely draw unwanted attention. Leonard needs a way to get resources without standing out too much. Meanwhile, footsteps approach outside. 3 months have passed since he locked himself in, and nobody has seen him. A squad of veteran recruits approaches the cabin, complaining about having to check on him daily. One reminds them of Cardina's rules. Having good connections is the ultimate key to survival for these guys. A solid hookup is worth way more than being born into some mediocre noble house. They stop outside, noting even the commander is watching the rookie. One guy shoves Hayden, forcing him to go check. Carrying a bucket of fish, Hayden cautiously approaches and peeks through a crack in the door to see if the kid is still alive. He is worried by the dead silence. Inside, Leonard watches him from the shadows, thinking his superiors are actually pretty decent folks. He stares right at Hayden's face through the tiny crack in the wood. He realizes that if he copies the face of a 10-year slacker veteran, nobody will care about his strength. He sits back down. Ready to try an old, forgotten technique, he raises his hands and channels his energy to morph his appearance using the reverse craft. It is a disguise art that shifts facial muscles and pulse. His features begin to stretch and warp drastically under his touch. Under the full moon, Lan chuckles at having to go undercover to hide his growth. He looks at his hands. He is happy because the change is flawless. Looking exactly like Hayden, he decides to rock this disguise for a while. 3 months pass, bringing us to the Bone Mountain Swamp, a misty wasteland. Suddenly, a fast shadow dashes through the brush, startling the resting birds. Lanner rushes through the woods, knowing that the real trick to staying alive here is completely erasing your presence. He moves carefully, fully aware of the venomous ambush predators lurking in the mud. He stops on a thick branch while right below him. Lizardmen stalk the dark. Unsheathing his sword, he compares their tough scales to past beasts before leaping, snapping the branch to dive into battle. He drops straight from above, landing squarely on one of the submerged lizardmen. Lannon lands on his prey's body as blood splatters everywhere, defeating the monster before it can even react. A giant lizardman boss holding a wooden spear emerges from the fog. Trust me, we are in for a wild ride. All right, you and I are jumping right into this crazy fight as a yellow-eyed beast roars, protecting its turf, but Lannon easily blocks the attack, noticing something wild. Sure, the beast is fast, but its moves are basic. Suddenly, blue energy explodes around our boy as he ascends to a whole new level. Still disguised as Hayden, he realizes he has officially hit the absolute limit of his current power stage. There is no way he can hide the massive mana burst from his upcoming breakthrough, so he heads deeper into the swamp to find some privacy. He needs a hidden spot to unleash his energy away from prying eyes and the pouring rain. That is when Lan stumbles upon a secret farm hidden deep in the woods. He completely freezes when he sees a massive field of spiritual herbs growing right in front of a cave. These plants soak up mana like crazy, and there are tons of them. But this garden has an owner, a massive, terrifying cave troll serving as its guardian. The troll growls, sensing an intruder nearby. Leonard quickly dives into hiding as he feels another insanely powerful presence heading their way. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning strikes, introducing a wild new challenger to the field. It is a fierce werewolf here to completely disrespect the troll's authority. The beast moves with insane speed, dodging flying debris left and right. The giant troll tries to grab him. But the lightning-covered wolf is just too quick. Lan watches in absolute awe as the werewolf channels pure nature energy into every single strike. He realizes even monsters can control elements if they are high level. The troll fights back by chucking massive boulders, manipulating tons of earth with pure brute strength. Meanwhile, the werewolf dodges everything at lightning speed, bouncing off the trees. Keep your eyes on this clash of titans as energy and rocks fly everywhere. Neither beast is willing to give up an inch of this forest. Lanner notices this fight is going to drag on, which is the perfect distraction he needed. Using the chaos, he slips toward the cave entrance while they are busy. He figures while they tear each other apart. He can loot whatever is hidden inside. If a high-tier troll is guarding the door, there has got to be some legendary treasure. He sneaks in, noticing the loud battle outside fading away. Just a few steps in, and it is totally silent. It is the perfect spot for his power upgrade. But he stops dead in his tracks when a golden glow lights up the back of the cave. Right there stands a legendary tree radiating warm, pure mana. Mid-grade spirit herbs are growing all around it. He wonders if the troll is actually farming them. But something feels off. This mana is so strong he should have felt it from outside. He reaches out and feels a weird vibration, like an invisible wall. Touching it triggers a glowing hexagonal pattern, revealing a powerful magical protection seal. Now it makes sense. The barrier hides all this energy from the outside world. This golden tree is a masterpiece, and Ranner wonders what kind of legendary plant it is as he approaches a leaf. Amazed by the pure mana flowing from it, he realizes these are high-grade leaves, and the troll probably has no idea how valuable this stuff is. You and I both know things are never that easy, because his warrior instincts suddenly go wild. The troll is back, covered in blood and wearing a face of pure hatred. The monster charges at him with speed you would never expect from something that size. Since the cave blocks all sound and mana, Lanner had no idea the fight outside was over. Luckily, the troll is pretty beat up from fighting the werewolf. Lanner notices the deep gashes on the beast's chest are still wide open. The enraged troll leaps forward, trying to pancake our boy with one hit. Lannon draws his sword and focuses completely, ready for impact. The giant troll swings, smashing the cave entrance and causing a massive cave-in that blocks the exit. Lan just smiles. Since the monster trapped them, it is catch these hands time. Lan gets into his stance, charging his mana and accepting the challenge. The cave air vibrates from the sheer intensity of the energy they are both releasing. Massive rocks smash into the ground, kicking up clouds of dust. Lanner realizes the troll has figured out he cannot win in a race of speed. So he switches his tactics. The beast starts throwing giant boulders like crazy, trying to corner him. Leonard knows taking a direct hit from one of those would end him. He watches the troll's movements closely, waiting for the perfect opening to strike back. With his red eyes glowing, he decides to end this fight in one shot. He dashes forward with godlike speed, leaving a streak of energy behind him. He is aiming straight for the troll's chest, the source of its life force. But the troll lets out a deep roar as suffocating heat floods the cave. Lan is shocked to see a massive burst of elemental energy surrounding the beast. He realizes the troll does not just control Earth. The rocks shielding it are actually starting to burn. A fiery aura wraps around the Guardian, making it way more dangerous. The troll slams the ground with a flaming fist, creating a massive wave of scorching heat. The heat literally melts the stone ground, turning the floor into a death trap. Lanner now understands why the werewolf went down so fast against this guy. This beast has a dual attribute, which is extremely rare. The troll glares with pure rage as its skin turns glowing orange, leaving scorched footprints on the rocky ground with every step. Leonard backs off, knowing he cannot just charge in blindly. The heat is so intense he feels like he might melt if he gets too close to the beast. He decides to watch patiently, waiting for the troll to make a heavy move and leave itself wide open. As the monster takes a heavy step forward, Leonard sees his opening, and trust me, you do not want to miss what happens next. All right, you and I are about to watch our boy seize his chance. The monster slips, and with a silent roar, he goes all in. He blurs through the cave like a streak of golden lightning, barely dodging the flames. Talk about an absolute rush of raw power. It has been way too long since he felt a rush like this. Eyeing the beast's chest, he declares this fight is officially over. Pumping every drop of mana into his blade, he prepares to pierce the hide. Leonard leaps high, delivering a crazy precise downward thrust. The troll tries swiping him out of the air, but the kid is too fast. His sword drives deep, instantly shutting down the beast's magic. Lionel feels the steel rip through muscle straight to the heart. He is totally sure this single strike is going to end the Guardian right now. But his eyes widen in pure shock as he spots something incredibly weird glowing inside the deep wound. A bright red crystal core is pulsing like crazy deep inside the monster's chest, and then the crystal starts cracking. Unleashing a massive wave of trapped heat, Leonard realizes what is happening way too late. That core is going to blow. A blinding light fills his vision as fire erupts everywhere. He realizes that if it detonates point-blank like this, there is no way out. The explosion swallows Lanner whole, blasting him backward with insane force. He flies right toward the massive sacred tree. The crash is absolutely brutal, knocking the wind right out of him. Coughing up blood, he feels like the shockwave shattered every single bone in his body. Lanner watches the flames devour the greenery. In less than 5 minutes, this entire cave is going to turn into a total death trap. With the entrance completely blocked by the cave-in, backup is definitely not coming. He has absolutely zero time to second-guess himself now. Now pay attention, because this is where he has to make a wild, high-stakes gamble to survive. Manuel reaches out toward the spirit stones scattered on the sanctuary floor. He yells that he is going for it as a bright aura wraps his broken body. Closing his eyes, he feels pure mana from the stones flood his shredded internal organs. The power of 100 spirit stones rushes into his heart, kickstarting the healing. But even with all this wild energy surging, Lan can tell it is still not enough to trigger his breakthrough. Dragging himself across the dirt, he is determined to eat every single spirit herb in the room. He grabs the plants and swallows them down desperately. Hunting for any extra scrap of power, he sits cross-legged as a wild vortex of energy kicks up dust and rocks all around him. 5 different colored cores spin rapidly above his head, showing off the unique elements of his brand new mana. Leonard takes a deep breath as all those separate forces finally start blending together into one perfect, harmonious flow. A blinding glow bursts from his chest. It feels like a brand new, godlike heart is beating inside him. His wounds vanish and his mana is fully charged. He finally broke right through his old limit, but wait, the energy buildup is not stopping at all. Honestly, you and I probably didn't see this crazy twist coming. A colossal mana dragon suddenly materializes right behind him, unleashing a level of power that transcends human limits. Lanner sits there, meditating under a giant tree glowing as bright as the sun. His mana has finally fused, pushing him to level 3 of the external force realm. With dirt all over his face but a seriously terrifying look in his eyes, Leonard realizes he just got an insane power boost out of nowhere. He thinks back to his senior-ranked classmates who have been stuck at level 2 for years without moving. He stares at his hand, glowing with blue energy. His injuries are entirely gone, and mana is flowing through his veins faster than ever. Lanner clenches his fist. Totally amazed by how strong he got just by jumping up a single rank, he stares at the giant tree, wondering how he survived that blast in an enclosed cave. The bright light that was surrounding him slowly begins to fade away. Finally, as the blinding glow clears, only a tiny, glowing fruit is left hanging from a branch. He realizes all that crazy spiritual energy actually formed a barrier to protect him and the cave. He picks up the blue fruit, which fits perfectly in his palm, feeling it hum and vibrate with leftover magic. He thinks it over, figuring this little thing must have absorbed every bit of mana from the air. He decides to keep the seed to replant it later. He feels like that sacred tree literally saved his skin. He dashes out of the cave, leaping over rocks at absolute breakneck speed to save time. Drawing his sword while running at full throttle, he knows if he takes any longer, the others will definitely suspect something is up. With an explosive leap, he bursts outside, sending dirt and rocks flying everywhere as he lands. He charges through the forest, leaping through the air. Moving with pure, superhuman agility, he lands with a cocky grin, realizing he is now so strong he can barely control his own raw output. In the distance, he finally spots the entrance to the training grounds. He arrives just in time, catching his breath while throwing a giant beast hide over his shoulders. He quickly starts fixing up his messy uniform. If his seniors spot him looking like a disaster, he will have to make up endless excuses. Suddenly, a metallic clinking sound catches his attention. A bunch of recruits show up, and one is shocked to see the training door already open. A cheerful guy named Jen approaches, telling Elnor to call him senior. Elnor just glares at him with his usual grumpy look, totally ignoring the guy's hyper energy. Leonard does not waste any time, and straight up asks Ian for a quick sparring match to get some feedback on his swordplay. Ian is caught completely off guard. He accepts with a smug smirk, laughing about how he can never say no to a junior. Trust me, you and I are going to love seeing him get humbled next time. All right, you and I are about to watch this rookie absolutely wreck his cocky seniors. Yinian tries to show him what a real Cardina's knight can do, throwing the first strike like he already won, but Lanner is pure lightning. In literally 1 second, the guy gets sent flying, having no clue what just hit him. Yang is totally out cold, and another senior named Gale bites the dust right after. Leonard is completely unstoppable. Wooden swords clash so hard they blast wind gusts everywhere. Yet Lan just dodges and counters multiple opponents at the same time like he is taking a casual stroll. Haydn is watching this play out and completely loses his color. How does a rookie fresh out of basic training fight like an absolute beast? Lan blocks a direct strike, staying cool as ice while analyzing everyone else's movements. Desperate, Haydn coats his sword in flaming mana to strike with everything he has. Ian goes absolutely ballistic, screaming at him for bringing actual magic into a friendly spar. The squad rushes over to a smoking lantern, but the guy is just staring at his hand, totally unfazed and chill about the whole thing. Lannard apologizes, claiming his reflexes just kicked in. Looking at his bloody hand, he realizes that even with his mana shield, he still took some real damage. Swordsmanship is not everything here. Despite the injury, Lannard flashes a cheeky little smirk that leaves the other knights totally speechless. A buddy asks why he is not mad, and Lannard just laughs it off, saying he still has plenty to learn from his seniors. Lan grips his wooden sword with a bloody hand, but instead of crying about his wounds, he looks hyped and says he cannot wait to keep clashing swords with them. His opponent completely freezes up. He cannot believe this kid is still raring to go after taking that hit. Trust me, you're going to want to watch this kid grow, because Lan just smiles and says he wants this every day, so Ian promises they will crash his cabin every night. Suddenly, a massive slam on the wooden door completely ruins the vibe. It is Ian again, carrying a massive bag and looking dead serious. He warns Lannard that their late-night training session is officially cancelled. Lannard opens up and asks what is wrong. Ian looks totally out of breath, mentioning he cannot find their other two squad mates anywhere, which is super sketchy. Ian explains that a massive explosion went off near Bone Mountain Swamp, and the whole place is in pure chaos. Lan notices his senior is wearing full combat gear instead of his usual uniform, like he is already deployed. Word on the street is, a werewolf and a demon-tier troll had a brutal turf war in the middle of the swamp. Turns out the troll was burned alive and the werewolf was found dead with its skin ripped off. It is a straight-up horror show down there. Ian stares into the dark woods, shuddering at how brutal that fight must have been. Meanwhile, a whole squad of heavy-armored knights in red capes is already marching out toward the danger zone. Ian explains they are heading into a massive cleanup operation. Even if the higher-ups are calling it night training, he tells Lan he is not ready for real combat duty. So he needs to stay put in his cabin. But before heading out, Ian remembers how many practice swords Lan broke, so he hooks him up with some gear. He hands over 5 solid wooden swords. They are nothing fancy, but they will keep him training without running out of weapons every 5 minutes. Lannard sincerely thanks him for the gear. Ian just smiles, flashes him a quick thumbs up, and tells him not to forget his buddies when he gets famous. Now pay attention, because Ian warns him one last time to absolutely stay inside tonight. With almost every knight on the island deployed to the swamp, Ian warns him that brute strength and raw sword skills cannot solve every problem. Lannard waves goodbye, thinking that if they are mobilizing the entire order, things must be getting seriously out of hand. But with everyone distracted, he knows this is his absolute golden ticket to make a move. Soon, fast footsteps can be heard rushing down the empty dirt road. Lan is already sprinting toward his own secret target, throwing on a dark fur cloak so he can finally make some bold moves. Using his shape-shifting disguise tonight is way too risky, so he has to tread very carefully, glancing out at the marching column of knights. He knows getting caught in a fake identity right now would just cause major headaches he does not need. He decides to disguise himself with that stinky werewolf hide he grabbed earlier, even if the smell is absolutely gross. With his cloak whipping in the wind, Lannard leaps forward with insane agility, if all the guards are gathered in one spot. He has a free pass to do whatever he wants. Adjusting his hood, he decides it is the perfect time to go explore the heavily guarded areas of the training grounds. His real goal is to reach the creepy Owl Plains, which looks incredibly dark and spooky under a deep blood-red sky. He sneaks through the dead silent plains, but his sharp instincts instantly put him on high alert. Something incredibly dangerous is staring at him from deep inside the fog, radiating a bloodlust that completely chills him to the bone. Lan pauses, wondering why this hidden beast has not pounced yet. He quietly continues walking across the rugged rocks. Is the stalker just being cautious, or is it flat out terrified of him? Either way, he is tired of waiting. Then, suddenly, a massive beast crashes down right from the sky, kicking up a giant cloud of dust. It is a legendary giant owlbear. A ferocious monster with jet black feathers and razor-sharp claws. The beast unleashes an earth-shattering roar with all its might. Unfazed, Leonard calmly adjusts his hood and locks eyes with it. Trust me, you and I are about to see this owlbear get absolutely wrecked. With a confident smirk, Lanner thinks this monster is the perfect warm-up before the real fight. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the islands, you and I are about to dive into some serious trouble. The sun sets over the ocean horizon as a voice announces they have finally reached Carabago's island. On the beach, a group of cloaked figures can be seen stepping off their boats. One of them reports that two went missing along the way. These warriors from the Kyrgyz kingdom look super dangerous. Their leader laments losing some of his men, explaining they could not control the wind currents and ended up falling into the sea. Suddenly, the boss appears, the fifth shadow of Kyrgyz, with a blood-chilling glare under his hood. He wonders if the heavens have truly abandoned them at this critical moment. But he takes charge and rallies his soldiers, yelling that their brothers did not die for nothing. Their mission is clear and they must complete it for their homeland, no matter the cost. They are the dreaded Shadow Knight Order. A gloved hand holds an orb glowing with purple magic. Their leader gives the final command. They must capture the apprentice knights of the Cardenas clan alive at all costs. The Shadow Warriors leap into battle with blades drawn in terrifying fury. The boss orders them to show no mercy, even if their targets are just kids, because they want to uncover every secret of that hated bloodline. The terrain turns dry and desolate as a harsh wind kicks up massive clouds of dust across the barren ground. Watch closely here. We see someone sprinting at full speed, leaving deep tracks in the dry sand. One of those Shadow Warriors is desperately cursing his luck. Turns out he got separated from the squad during that chaotic landing. Now, the poor guy is absolutely scared to death. He wonders how many high-rank monsters are on this island since he can barely survive. He screams for his captain while surrounded by fierce shadows. Another cloaked invader keeps running, wondering what on earth the Cardenas clan is doing in such a dangerous place, crawling with wild beasts. But then he notices something weird. The deeper he goes, the weaker the monsters seem to get. At least on this plane, nothing has popped up to threaten his life. A tactical map shows the progress of the invading force. An authoritative voice declares that once they successfully slip in, absolutely nothing can stop their master plan from unfolding. Deep in the woods, a cloaked assassin spots an owlbear. Even though he knows it is a tough beast, he is totally confident he can take it down. The assassin lands lightly in the clearing, sword drawn and ready for action, but he stops dead in his tracks when he senses a bizarre vibe. Looking closely at the owlbear, the assassin is left in total shock. The massive creature is already dead, killed before he could even get near it. Standing over the beast's corpse, the assassin looks around with growing suspicion. He begins to suspect that someone else beat him to the punch. Pulling down his mask a bit, his face shows high alert. The air feels heavy, and the creepy feeling of being watched starts to rattle him. Looking around, he realizes this is not the only defeated monster. He concludes that whoever did this must be a certified master of combat. Out of the blue, a projectile cuts the air with a sharp metallic whistle. The assassin reacts on instinct, blocking and yelling in absolute fury. Who is there? A shadow moves faster than humanly possible. Don't blink, because Lanner emerging from the darkness with terrifying calm is absolutely insane. The assassin backs away, completely thrown off by this kid's sudden appearance. Elner coldly stares him down and tells him that is his line, taking total control. Lan confronts the intruder, demanding to know who he is. The assassin tries to answer, but he is completely crushed by the immense pressure radiating from the youth. With his glowing red eyes shining bright, Lanner deduces the guy can no longer speak under his intense aura. He decides to beat his identity out of him. The hooded assassin panics, suddenly realizing he has lost the ability to speak. His eyes show a mix of fear and hatred while he struggles to breathe. With no options left, the assassin draws his sword, which erupts in a blazing golden aura. The intense heat of his mana warps the air. The enemy unleashes a devastating slash wrapped in pure energy. The impact's flames light up the clearing while Lannard stands completely unfazed by the charge. Lannard blocks the strike with insulting ease. He sneers that his opponent's sword reeks of bloodlust, proving he never planned to show mercy. Sparks fly as their steel blades clash. Leonard dominates the trade, blocking every thrust with flawless precision, leaving the assassin completely optionless. The assassin is utterly stunned. His ultimate attack did not even scratch the kid. he starts realizing he is facing an absolute monster in the body of a child. Lan glides across the field with feline agility. His movements are so blindingly fast they barely leave a trace as he searches for a weak spot. The battle shifts up to the rocky cliffs. Leonard and the assassin trade blows in a deadly dance of steel and blinding speed. The assassin lands a solid hit, but Leonard blocks it with an impeccable defensive technique. The brutal impact rings out with crazy force. Baffled by the kid's insane durability, the assassin wonders if he is using some kind of forbidden magic tool to boost his defense. Lore keeps the pressure on, forcing the assassin to backpedal constantly. Every single move is designed to completely break his opponent's confidence. Desperate, the assassin unleashes his strongest technique. A golden energy serpent roars out of his sword, ready to swallow Lanner whole. The bright technique lights up the entire clearing with a blinding glow. The assassin curses himself for having to reveal his ace card against a kid, but you and I can see Lan calmly analyzing the strike. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a wild fight where Lanner mocks an assassin's cheap, snake-like sword style. Talk about a brutal roast. With insane grace, Lanner dodges those glowing energy fangs. He tells the dude his moves are super basic and basically an open book. Lan asks the assassin if he has only hunted tiny, weak targets before, completely clowning on his lack of real-world battle experience. Even after getting roasted, the assassin flashes a creepy smile. It looks like the show is not over, and he still has a dirty trick left. Suddenly, glowing purple chains burst straight out of the ground and wrap tightly around Lanner. It is the shark pound trap built to totally freeze him. The killer laughs, bragging that locking down both the fighter and his sword means an easy win. But wait, the bad guy's eyes almost pop out of his head when Lanold literally just drops his sword. He wonders what kind of crazy logic made the kid disarm himself. Meanwhile, Lan just laughs at how incredibly naive this killer is. He tells him it is childish to think he is harmless without a blade. Nan instantly shatters the chains with raw strength and delivers a massive punch that leaves the guy completely knocked out cold. The killer lies on the dirt with a wrecked face and a completely broken spirit. He cannot process how a mere kid has this much speed and insane decision-making, as he starts blacking out. Now watch this part closely. The invader wonders if Lannard already unlocked the legendary, terrifying power of the cursed Cardina's bloodline under this full moon. It shines bright on the battlefield where Elnard just showed everyone who is boss, walking casually toward his defeated enemy. He binds the dude with his own magic chains. The young apprentice shows zero mercy, telling the assassin that his situation is totally hopeless. His mana and body are totally useless, and his life is in Lannard's hands. The assassin, overflowing with pure salt, calls him a coward, crying that he is a Cardina's devil using cheap tricks to mock a real swordsman's pride. Lannard just stares. With a mix of pity and total confusion, he cannot believe this clown is talking trash after trying to stab him in the back. Lan points directly at the broken magic trap, sarcastically asking who the real coward is here, completely laughing off those ridiculous accusations. Tied up to a tree, the hooded killer roars with pure hate. He absolutely hates the Cardina's clan and vows to expose the monstrous power Laner hides behind his apprentice act. Laner clenches his fist, holding back his power as he watches. The bruised-up killer starts shaking from the sheer physical and mental pressure the young boy is radiating. In a final desperate act of rebellion, the invader screams at Lanner to just end his life right now if he dares, trying to hide his fear behind a fake mask of hurt pride. But Lanner does not show a single ounce of emotion. He just stares back with those glowing red eyes cutting through the dark, warning the guy that he controls his fate now, and the killer does not even have the right to beg for death. Still, the assassin keeps spitting wild insults, calling Lanner a trashy, illegitimate half-blood. He vows he won't talk, choosing death over working with him. I know what you're thinking. What is up with this dirty blood stuff? Lanner wonders the exact same thing about his family's mysterious dark legacy. The prisoner keeps yelling that Lannard can never escape the sins carved right into his very veins. A flash of a blood-drenched hand reminds us of his clan's violent nature, amidst visions of a red moon and the Grand. Yet creepy Cardina's mansion, the killer screams they are not even human. Only literal monsters could breed such insane brute strength generation after generation. A dark, confident smirk creeps onto Lannard's face as he watches the guy from under his hood. He whispers that the dude seems surprisingly well informed, so it is time to find out what he knows under this moonlight. Lanner begins interrogating his tied-up prisoner, demanding answers about his bloodline secrets. The furious killer screams that if his family founder was actually legitimate, They would not have to hide anything or live like outcasts. Lan silently stares at him with those intense red eyes, processing his words. He asks if they seriously envy the Cardina's power so much that they would ruin their knightly honor by kidnapping kids. Pointing at the broken magic cuffs on the ground, he tells him that real fighters do not rely on cheap, trashy toys. Lorler turns to walk away, muttering that even if they expose his family's secrets, they will always remain honorless border trash. He stops and gets right in his face, asking how he expects to look his ancestors in the eye with such pathetic pride. The killer snaps, screaming at him to watch his mouth and not dare insult the name of Kyrgyz. Leonard smiles on the inside. The dude literally just licked his own origin. Realizing he messed up, the killer freezes. Lanner then summons his glowing blue aura around his sword, casually mentioning that when people completely lose their heads, they forget even the most obvious things. The killer looks absolutely terrified seeing the boy's massive power. Leonard warns him that since his mana circuits are forced open, he will die soon, but he is getting every bit of info first. Turns out Kyrgyz was just a tiny, half-forgotten kingdom in the west of the continent. A couple of centuries ago, the place was known as the Sacred Land of Knights. But that was before the Cardina's clan showed up. The Order of the Red Dragon absolutely wiped them out in a massive battle. That single defeat erased Kyrgyz from history, and the entire world started calling the Cardina's clan the new sacred land of ultimate warriors. And that is where we leave things today. Leonard figures they wanted his family's secrets, but honestly, he wants to uncover those mysteries himself too. Alright, you and I are jumping right into a mess, because some top-tier transcendence monsters are already on this island. He sheathes his sword, deciding it's best to report everything to Sister Bradley. We get a close-up of the blade glowing with that classic blue energy. He knows exactly who they are, the Kyrgyz Shadow Knight Order. Lanner takes a second to analyze the situation. Most knights on this island are just greenhorn trainees, so this is gonna end terribly for them, with zero time for long explanations. He decides to use the assassin as proof that a swordmaster-level threat is loose. He delivers a quick slash, instantly knocking him out cold. Staring at his blade, he mutters that it's just a cheap imitation of his real power, but it'll do. Sparks fly as the attack leaves a deep mark. Lanner grabs the guy's magical gear, saying, "I'll take these." He throws the assassin's limp body over his shoulder like it's absolutely nothing, assuming there are no objections. Nearby, footsteps echo through the quiet woods. The scene opens up to show a camp of clean white tents nestled deep under the trees. Some trainee knights are walking back exhausted, totally relieved to finally get a break after their brutal training session. Yen, one of the rookies, is super nervous and just prays nothing weird happens tonight. But suddenly, something on the ground catches his eye. Check this out, they freeze solid seeing a corpse lying right in the road. It's the Kyrgyz assassin, blue energy still glowing on his chest. The kids completely panic and scream to find Sister Bradley immediately. Bradley arrives shortly after, analyzing the body with an incredibly serious look on her face. She recognizes the trace as an aura blade, a highly advanced technique that only a genuine swordmaster could pull off. Bradley realizes the note found with the body wasn't a joke at all. It's a guilt-ridden confession for attacking the young recruits. Obviously, Lanner left it there for her to find. The letter warns that the Kyrgyz Shadow Knight Order is coming in full force. They're led by a Transcendence-level commander. Bradley grinds her teeth in worry, knowing that even all their trainees combined won't stand a chance. Wasting no time, she orders Yen to sound the general alarm across the island because they are in deep trouble. The loud blare of the alarm echoes through the entire complex, waking up every single night as danger closes in. The recruits run for their lives after the emergency alarm goes off. Dozens of heavy boots loudly clatter against the wooden floors. Lanner watches the chaos calmly, realizing Bradley perfectly picked up on the clue he left behind. Bradley stands before them with authority, telling everyone to listen up. She announces this is not a drill. Super powerful intruders have invaded Carabago's island. She explains there are about 30 high-level enemies, and the worst part, at least one of them is a true swordmaster. She reminds them how terrifying a Transcendence-level warrior is, comparing them to Fabian's insane power. Against a monster like that, numbers mean absolutely nothing. They are basically walking natural disasters. Bradley gives them a choice: activate the portal to flee and wait for family backups, or stay and fight. Decide now, recruits of Cardenas, she yells. She knows a real battle like this only comes once in a lifetime. Honestly, you and I know surviving this is a stretch, but Lanner watches to see their reaction. Suddenly, a recruit screams they're gonna fight. The others join in, shouting that they've gotten strong too and won't go down easy. Lanner admits he totally misjudged them. Choosing to grab a sword when death is staring you down is no joke. The entire battalion of trainees raises their weapons, ready for war. Rows and rows of archers even stand ready for defense in a massive formation. Bradley lets out a small smile. Proud of her subordinates' insane bravery, she accepts their choice but warns them that a Transcendence opponent is on another level. So she'll request Fabian's help immediately. As the sun sets behind the mountains, Bradley tells everyone to brace their hearts for what's coming. Meanwhile, Lanner slips away down a lonely path using the chaos. He stops in front of a secret tunnel he dug near his bunk. Looks like showtime. He figures since he's still under protective custody, they're evacuating him, which works out perfectly for his solo operation. He pulls out the items he swiped from the assassin. Most of it's broken, but he notices an enchanted ring is still active. Lanner triggers it quickly to test it. The ring's green gem glows brightly as mana flows into it, but he realizes his own heart is blocking the external mana, making standard magic tools completely useless to him. The only thing that actually works is the Shadow Knight Order's signaling device. Luckily, he knows how to use it. He puts on a pendant with a green gem. His plan is to ambush them from the shadows or use it as bait. He sprints off into the forest at full speed, knowing the only person he really needs to watch out for is that swordmaster. His eyes are filled with pure determination. He won't let these guys run wild on his turf. He moves so fast he leaves nothing but a trail of dust across the rocky terrain. Suddenly, he picks up a backup signal. He doubts it's the Transcendence leader calling. "Don't move, I'm on my way," Lanner thinks as he heads straight toward them, taking advantage of the fact they don't know he's hostile yet. Cut to Lion Canyon, where the mana pressure is absolutely insane. A wild vortex of purple energy explodes, sending rocks flying everywhere. One Kurgi assassin gets blasted back by the impact, cursing those Cardenas scumbags. Right in front of them appears a Ranka manticore, a massive beast with a human face that has them totally cornered. The monster roars as its scorpion tails whip around dangerously. And that's where we leave it. These guys are running for their lives, completely helpless against a literal monster. What a wild ride. All right, you and I are diving right into the chaos as these guys spot someone approaching, thinking a buddy is coming to help them fight the beast. One of them just stares at the figure stepping out of the shadows of this absolute slaughter. "No way that comrade is," he whispers in pure terror, as Lionel moves like a bolt of blue lightning, wiping out 3 Kyrgyz assassins in a literal blink of an eye using his stolen gear. The final assassin just watches in pure horror, totally clueless on how some kid mastered their secret tech so fast. With a freezing glare, Manuel mocks their organization's so-called high reputation, revealing their captured buddy spilled everything without even putting up a fight, screaming in raw rage. The assassin charges in a desperate final attack, ignoring his dead squad mates. Lionel stays completely cool as the guy screams about revenge, getting ready to sweep the last remaining intruder in the area. With one clean slash, Lionel rips through his guard, sending the guy screaming into the afterlife. The dude flops hard onto the cold dirt, painting the ground red as his eyes go completely blank. "Did you seriously forget what you were fighting a second ago?" Lan asks, turning his focus to the real threat as a high-rank manticore creeps out of the dark. A literal nightmare-fuel beast with a lion body and actual human faces sticking out of its flesh. The monster lets out an air-shaking roar, its bloodshot eyes locked onto the young intruder daring to stand in its way. Lanner quietly sizes up the beast, noticing its snake tail and the creepy goblin citru faces making up its gross body. Even with the crazy pressure, Lionel just walks up completely chill. Staring right at the bearded human face leading the beast's body, the manticore breathes out a foul stench while its tails whip around like deadly weapons. Sizing up the tiny human, now watch closely because this next part is wild. The beast opens its human mouth, speaks with heavy mana, saying human, and Lionel completely freezes. Running into a monster that can actually speak is totally unheard of. The beast even admits it'd get wrecked if it fights Lannon, knowing his power is on another level. But it warns it won't go down easy, saying its only job is to stall until he arrives. It's talking about someone way more powerful. Some terrifying presence that even a high-ranked beast respects. Leonard instantly realizes it must be the 5th Shadow, the legendary sword master leading this raid, whose strength is off the charts. The scary image of the enemy sword master pops into his head. Elnard knows that throwing hands with him right now is a death sentence, even if he doesn't trust a shady monster. Lan knows that lingering here is a massive gamble. The manticore taunts him one last time, telling him to make a move if he's not scared of dying right now. Lanner slowly sheathes his weapons, giving the beast one final pass to walk away before things get messy. With steady steps, the kid starts walking away, keeping his guard up for any funny business. Thinking Lan completely lowered his guard. The manticore attacks with a roar. You and I knew that was coming, right? Leonard sighs, totally expecting this backstab, and gets ready to end it. Whipping around, Manuel fires off bursts of concentrated blue mana, dodging and weaving with superhuman speed. First shot straight to the dome, he whispers, as a massive blast rocks the monster's skull. The manticore screams in pure agony. Realizing Leonard knew its weak spots right from the start, the kid leaps high over those poison tails. Dodging every single swipe with crazy mid-air precision. Second shot, aiming for the lungs, Lanner calls out as two sharp blue energy blades rip through its chest. Landing one final direct blow straight to the heart, Lanner completely finishes off the rank beast. Leaving it in the dust as he runs, Lanner doesn't waste a single second, booking it because he feels the Sword Master's aura creeping closer. Big brain move, he throws the signal transmitter he swiped from the assassin, setting up a fake trail before slipping into the shadows. Just seconds after he leaves, the fifth shadow crashes down with an earth-shaking blast. A wild vortex of emerald green aura swirls around him as he surveys the messy battlefield. The Sword Master steps out of the dust, his terrifying presence totally suffocating the whole canyon. His glowing eyes lock onto the little trinket Leonard left behind. Instantly realizing someone was just here, grabbing the dropped signal pendant. The fifth shadow grits his teeth, pissed that he didn't make it in time to save his squad. He inspects the shredded manticore and his dead guys. The crazy combat skill used here is way too advanced for any random student. Suddenly, he senses a weird mana spike nearby and whips around, demanding to know who is hiding in the shadows spying on him, swirling with a storm of green energy. The angry boss gets ready to hunt down the mysterious enemy who wiped out his entire squad. Leonard quietly sneaks behind some rocks, knowing this guy has a terrifying, long-range radar. Creeping away, the kid slips out of the impact zone, looking for a safe spot where the Sword Master's crazy aura cannot reach him. Who knew Cabarollos would actually save my life, Leonard thinks, as he uses his mana to literally dig a tunnel and escape underground. The fifth shadow stands alone in the crater, second-guessing his own senses since there is absolutely no trace of the intruder. The boss frustratedly admits this mission is getting way too messy, feeling like his sharp killer instincts are starting to slip. Looking at his squad's makeshift sword graves, the assassin vows their deaths won't be in vain, swearing he will complete the mission. He marches forward with determination, totally convinced that despite these setbacks, the main phase of their plan is already good to go. Back on the surface, Lanner's hand pops out of the dirt in the middle of a forest, finally exiting his escape tunnel as he climbs all the way out. Exhausted but totally satisfied, and that is where we leave it, glad he dodged that crazy Sword Master. You and I are jumping right into the action, as Lanner runs into a dying Cardenas knight who is gasping for breath against a rock, asking who this kid appearing out of nowhere is. The knight recognizes Lanner as a clan trainee just by his basic gear. With his very last breath, the dying man drops some absolutely devastating news. A single enemy wiped out 43 knights in an instant of pure chaos. He desperately adds that 8 captured recruits were patrolling the area and taken prisoner. Seething with pure, silent rage, Lanner processes this terrible news about his abducted teammates. Visualizing the brutal rescue mission ahead of him, Lanner checks out the battlefield and quickly realizes the obvious. They are too late, everyone is already gone. Scanning the enclosed area, he tries to figure out how they moved so many hostages, realizing their goal is not to kill but to capture. They want live test subjects transported safely. Honestly, there are not many ways to move a massive group this fast. Lanner already knows what kind of trick they pulled. Mass teleportation, a crazy spell that shifts dozens of people in seconds. Time is ticking since the bad guys already got what they came for. To move that many bodies, they need a wide open space. So Leonard knows exactly where they are heading. Suddenly, he runs into Bradley, a clan knight bleeding out on the ground. Elnor tells him to rest while Bradley stares, completely clueless about what this kid is doing. Instantly, Lanner channels his energy to stabilize the dying knight, leaving the knight absolutely blown away by the raw power. Standing up, Lanner knows Bradley cannot walk a single step on his own. So he hoists him up. You and I know if he does not act now, the Cardenas clan is going to bite the dust. Lanner decides to carry Bradley to the extraction point himself. Meanwhile, the rest of the clan soldiers are scouring the forest, desperately looking for clues. Bradley remembers his burning rage seeing his own men run like cowards, tossing their pride. But back in the present, The knight yells, demanding to know who is carrying him. Lanard, now rocking a mask and hood, dodges attacks from his own allies who mistake him for an enemy. Bradley grits his teeth, wondering if this hooded guy is a Kyrgyz survivor, under the mask. Lionel stays locked in, focused only on escaping this forest. His feet barely touch the ground as he speeds away from the pursuing cavalry. Dodging strike after strike, he ignores their demands to release the hostage and surrender. Suddenly, he leaps off a cliff with Bradley, escaping the chaos. Breathing heavy under his mask, carrying a grown man is no joke. He dashes through an area littered with ancient swords. Moving with insane agility for a kid, he literally uses the weapons on the ground as launch pads to jump even higher. Sailing through the air with crazy precision, he completely loses his pursuers. He slides onto the beach, landing right on the sand. Finally reaching his destination, he drops Bradley down and spins around to face whatever threat is coming next. Bradley quickly gets up, draws his blade, and lunges at Lanner, thinking he is the enemy. Lanner stays totally chill. His plan to lure the knights to the shore worked flawlessly. Bradley swings his sword with pure fury, sick of being carried around like luggage. The kid barely dodges, analyzing Bradley's form like a seasoned pro. Bradley suddenly freezes, realizing they have reached the ocean. He was so focused on fighting that he missed the trip. Let's pause, watch as Leonard stares out at the sea, completely ignoring Bradley's whining. He warns him to save his energy because a true heavyweight is about to show up. Metallic footsteps echo heavily across the sandy shore. A warrior decked out in full armor and a massive cape emerges from the shadows, mocking the Cardenas dogs. Bradley tenses up, recognizing this man as the mastermind of the forest massacre. Quinto Sombra draws a blade glowing with a creepy green aura and declares no one leaves alive. Laughing right in Bradley's face, he mocks him, saying they did not come to this island to play games. Out of nowhere, a massive pillar of light beams down from the sky, blinding the area in white. Bradley shields his eyes, horrified that the enemy just triggered a mass teleportation spell right above them. Quinto Sombra grins like a maniac, boasting that the spell takes 15 minutes to charge, so he will personally entertain them. He charges forward with terrifying speed, mocking their struggles as his green aura lights up the coast. Bradley grits his teeth, barely holding back the enemy's crushing pressure. As cold sweat drips down his face, watching from a branch, Lanner tells Bradley to hold out. The kid has a clear goal. He's going to rescue those kidnapped knights before it is too late. High above, the enemy camp reveals a glowing magic circle. Leonard slips inside quietly, taking advantage of the guards being totally distracted by the main fight. Even with his presence erased, he notices no one is looking. His moment is here. Inside a tent, the captured knights sit tied up. They gasp in shock as a shadow suddenly materializes. Laurel zeroes in on the magic cuffs, keeping his allies trapped. With a sharp burst of blue energy, Lanner slices right through the heavy metal chains like paper. One of the knights lets out a huge sigh of relief as his hands are freed from that heavy spell. Confused, they ask if he is with the Kyrgyz group. Unaware why a total stranger would risk his neck for them, Leonard cuts them off, saying there is no time to talk, they must flee. The knights share stunned looks, absolutely blown away by this mysterious young guy's intense authority and sheer focus. Lan knows the clock is ticking before Quinto Sombra catches on, and as we wrap up this chapter, the rescued knights stand up to thank him. What a wild ride. Alright, stick with me because a sudden mana blast just rocked the tent, forcing everyone on guard while Lan acts completely chill. The hostage situation is finally dealt with, which means he can finally go all out. Sliding his mask off, he smiles. It is time to handle the enemy leader once and for all, face to face. Stepping out of the tent, they find themselves face to face with a massive horde of cloaked assassins ready to end them. Leonard draws his twin blades wrapped in blazing blue flames, unleashing a total slaughter. He says he is just taking out the garbage as his energy slashes rip through the mercenaries without mercy. The enemies fall screaming in agony, completely unable to keep up with the sheer speed of Lanner's strikes. Meanwhile, Fifth Shadow lands a solid strike on Bradley, mocking his weakness as the knight spits blood. The villain laughs, saying that even though Bradley was a decent warm-up, he is already getting bored of this game. He declares playtime is over and that his nation, Kyrgyz, will soon reclaim its place at the top of the world. But suddenly, Fifth Shadow freezes. He senses a massive presence drawing near, the very person who has been ruining his plans. A dark silhouette descends from the heavens, cloaked in a crimson energy that lights up the sunset. Lanner crashes down with an explosive boom right in the center of the battlefield, grabbing everyone's attention. Fifth Shadow reacts instantly, blasting green aura to push back the newcomer. But getting a closer look, the villain is shocked to realize he is facing the famous fifth shadow himself. He sneers, calling it a joke that the guy killing his men is just a brat. But don't blink, because he vows to honor his fallen comrades by slaughtering Lanner right here and now. Up above, the magic circle shines even brighter, showing that the teleportation sequence is nearly complete. The villain stomps forward, casually stepping on the bodies of the guys Lanner, just wrecked without showing any remorse. Seeing his squad completely slaughtered, Fifth Shadow goes absolutely berserk, swearing to rip this Cardina's demon limb from limb as he launches a massive aerial attack loaded with green power. Diving straight down to crush Lannard in a single blow, Lan raises his guard. Quickly realizing his opponent is at the master stage, way stronger than anyone he has ever fought, the villain screams at him to die as his sword slams into Lannard's defense with an explosion of sparks. Fifth Shadow is stunned to find that Lannard can easily block him, wondering how a brat can execute the Aura Blade technique. With a freezing glare, Lan snaps that it is none of his business, prepping his counter. Fifth Shadow presses down hard, grunting with effort while Lannard holds his ground. Die! Screams the villain, unleashing a green energy slash that lights up the entire forest clearing. Lannard swiftly leaps back, dodging those wild swings while his foe loses his cool and calls him a demon. Staying calm and focused, the kid realizes he has the perfect opening to strike back. Lannard decides to close the distance right away, planning to dodge and strike at once to end this duel. But wait, Fifth Shadow smiles maliciously. He just baited Lan exactly where he wanted. Let's see what crazy trick he pulls next. A lethal poison that completely blocks the enemy's mana flow in an instant. He boasts that within seconds it will stop Lannard's heart, leaving him completely helpless. Lanner ignores him entirely and goes on the attack, sarcastically thanking him for the free explanation. The clash of their weapons flashes through the air, proving that the poison has zero effect on Lanner. His pure mana radiates outward, instantly purifying the entire surrounding area. Shattering his opponent's dark shadow snakes into dust, Fifth Shadow absolutely cannot believe his own eyes. His ultimate, flawless technique is failing miserably against a mere kid. Little does he know, Lannard possesses a unique biological immunity that neutralizes any deadly toxin. I already told you, you do not need to know how I do it, Lannard snaps as sparks fly. The villain starts panicking, realizing his big tactical advantage and secret poison are totally useless now, with his eyes completely bloodshot from strain. Fifth Shadow prepares to release every drop of his remaining power, unleashing a storm of green mana snakes that turns the clearing into a total death zone. Lannard weaves through the barrage with superhuman grace as his enemy roars in sheer frustration and rage. The kid notices his opponent is completely losing it, throwing desperate attacks with zero strategy. Lanner easily glides past the massive energy serpents, mocking his opponent's pathetic attempts to hit him with a sharp, focused look. Lanner prepares a burst of blue energy to end this chaotic fight, gathering a massive whirlwind of mana that is ready to blast his foe. The hit lands hard, blowing Fifth Shadow backward with a massive, blinding shockwave, left bruised and panting. The assassin glares at Lanner with pure, burning hatred, refusing to accept his defeat. Blood drips down his face, showing the brutal toll of pushing his dark magic past its absolute limit. Even if it costs me my life, I am taking you down with me, he roars, summoning one last massive snake. The green aura turns incredibly heavy, filling the clearing with dozens of unstable, dangerous mana projections. Lanner watches carefully. He knows his enemy is betting everything on this final, desperate, suicidal move. The young warrior leaps forward with explosive speed. Cracking the ground from the raw force of his dash, he quickly identifies that the enemy technique is a massive illusion meant to hide the real strike. Stay calm and slice fast, Lanner tells himself as he charges. And as you and I watch, he shreds those mana snakes with surgical strikes, channeling every ounce of his aura into his weapon, with a blazing, upward slash. He deletes a hidden threat lunging from his blind spot. The path to his target is wide open. I can reach him, Lannard thinks with quiet excitement. All right, you and I are diving straight into an absolute brawl, as Lanner leaps with his sword high for the final strike, but a green flash ruins everything. It is a hidden magic trap called Shockbound. Boom. A massive shock of energy intercepts our boy midair, leaving him completely paralyzed and wide open. Fifth Shadow wastes zero time capitalizing on this, reaching his hand straight for the defenseless kid's throat. The villain lifts Lanner into the air, choking him out while brutally mocking his rookie mistake. Turns out those snakes were just a distraction to lure Lanner into his trap. He tells him his luck just ran out and says see you in hell. The villain sneers, preparing to end him right there, but at that exact critical moment, Fabian's voice suddenly rings out. Commander Cardenas speaks with terrifying authority, saying that is not going to happen, as an invisible slash literally cuts through space and slices the assassin's arm right off. Fabian, Commander Cardenas, makes his grand entrance with total composure, his red cape blowing in the wind. While his icy stare dominates the battlefield, Fifth Shadow stares at his severed arm in total shock, completely unable to process the commander's insane speed. "Who is that? When did you get here?" the villain screams, completely overwhelmed by Fabian's ridiculous speed and power. Fabian gives him zero room to breathe, launching an upward slash and declaring this is for all the men killed before his arrival. Coughing from the intense strain, Lanner gives the enemy a smug look, asking if he really wanted to kill him that badly. The kid mockingly explains that his stupid obsession with killing him is the exact reason he missed Fabian's arrival, leaving the assassin stuttering in disbelief. The commander's face softens as he looks at the kid, showing his protective side, and sincerely apologizes for showing up so late. "Now pay attention here." Fabian looks at his nephew's insane growth with pure pride, smiling at how strong the kid got so fast. Bradley, another Cardenas knight, limps over, incredibly grateful to still be breathing. Fabian admits Lanner holding out was the only reason they saved Bradley, but our exhausted hero is completely spent and just begs for a nap. Asking if they can handle the rest after he sleeps, Fabian nods warmly at the tired little warrior, telling him of course. He can rest as much as he needs, but the commander's warm look instantly turns to stone as he glares back at the surviving assassin. Muttering that he'll clean up the remaining trash, Fabian prepares to execute Fifth Shadow, who is desperately trying to channel his remaining mana. Refusing to accept defeat, the villain gasps that this isn't over, floating up while covered in an unstable, corrupt green aura. Fabian acknowledges the bad guy's monstrous persistence, but his absolute resolve to eliminate this threat does not waver for a single second. Unleashing an overwhelming red spiritual pressure, Fabian coolly declares that this is where everything finally comes to an end. A massive blast slams the assassin, blowing Lanner back with a shockwave. But wait, you and I can see Fabian's eyes widening as he realizes something is terribly wrong. The assassin completely stopped defending himself just to set up one final trap, laughing like a maniac with wide, crazy eyes. Fifth Shadow activates a massive teleportation circle, roaring that he's at least taking the kid down with him, while Lanner watches in absolute horror as the space around them warps violently. A massive pillar of light erupts, completely swallowing Lanner and the killer as the forced teleportation spell triggers. Vaporizing them from the clearing in an instant, only a lingering trail of blue mana remains to show something massive just went down here. Fabian stares at the empty battlefield in pure frustration, immediately realizing they took the kid after spotting the marks scorched into the ground. He figures out they used a mass teleportation spell to kidnap him, though the destination is a mystery since the magic was unstable. The commander blames himself for letting his guard down, thinking he was the target, while Bradley wonders why they would target a rookie kid just starting his journey. It looks like the enemy views Lanner as such a massive threat that they'll literally do anything to take him off the board. They recall how a mere apprentice faced a transcendence-level assassin, with Bradley admitting he has never seen such terrifying growth in any recruit in the Order's history. It really feels like a brand new legend is rising within the Cardenas family tree. Fabian orders immediate backup from the main house to kick off the search, knowing they absolutely have to find the kid, no matter what. Thousands of miles away, Lanner is floating adrift on a piece of wood in the middle of the ocean, barely conscious as the freezing waves drain his last bit of strength. Up on the deck of a massive ship, someone spots him, and Lanner finally wakes up in a bed with a bandage on his cheek. Super confused, he feels the constant rocking and smells the ocean salt, realizing he is definitely on a ship, when a friendly redhead greets him, glad he is finally awake. She lets him know she has a ton of questions since they literally fished him out of the sea, introducing herself as Captain Francis of the Aquamarine before asking his name. Our boy sits up and calmly introduces himself as Lanner from the Arcadia Empire, shaking her hand to make things official. Francis is totally shocked since Arcadia is ridiculously far away, but Lanner explains that a magical accident is to blame for his sudden cruise. He barely remembers the assassin's face and the bright light before blacking out, just as another girl named Marion approaches them with major suspicion. Marion points out that his body is way too built for his age, which is classic for a Cardenas warrior, and Lanner doesn't deny it, asking if his name is a problem here. Marion whispers a warning to Francis, saying that getting involved with anyone from the Cardenas family is bad news. Before they can even talk, a panicked sailor bursts in, telling the captain to get to the dock and trust me, you and I want to see what happens next. Yo, you and I are diving straight into chaos because Luciano Peterson and his gang are wrecking the port, and Marion is absolutely fuming. Francis apologizes to Leonard for the bad hospitality, telling him he can pack up and leave whenever he is fully recovered since his gear is ready. Leonard stares at his gear on the table for a moment, but before she can walk out, he stops her with one simple question: why did she save him? Francis freezes in her tracks, turns around with a warm smile, and tells him she just cannot leave anyone behind who is in desperate need of help. Leonard stares at her, letting those words sink in, thinking to himself that honestly, she is the one who actually needs some serious help right now. Over at the port, the aquamarine is docked as trouble starts brewing, with Francis and Marion marching down to the docks ready to face the thugs. Luciano Peterson struts onto the dock with his crew, greeting Francis with a level of smugness that makes you want to punch him. Look who it is, he sneers with a smug grin. Marion already has her hand on her sword, but Luciano keeps yapping, telling Francis she should smile more after all this time. This guy is clearly not here for a peaceful chat. He has that exact face of someone who is about to say something incredibly toxic. Right on cue, Luciano tells Marion to shut up, saying dogs need to stay quiet when their masters speak. This guy is literally off the charts disrespectful. Marion is absolutely furious, and you can tell she is a single millimeter away from drawing her sword after that insult, but Luciano does not care. Now watch closely here, because this clown shoves Marion aside, walks up to Francis, and straight up demands she stop being stubborn and hand over her ship, the Aquamarine, right now. He claims that ship is a total waste on Francis, calling her a fallen noble, and yaps about how a royal relic is rotting away with her. Luciano even brings up her dead dad, telling her she cannot just inherit everything. Francis stares back with icy calm, telling him to get lost because he is never getting that ship. Luciano shifts into threat mode, telling her he is offering a great price and she should take it while he is still playing nice. Boom, before Luciano can even finish his sentence, Leonard moves like a flash and blood is already spraying all over the ground. With chilling coldness, Leonard asks Francis if she minds if he just kills this guy to get the main annoyance out of the way first. Francis and Marion are in total shock, unable to believe what just happened in a blink. Luciano is screaming in agony over his severed arm, cursing at Leonard and calling him a dirty bastard. The guy is completely out of his mind with pain and rage, screaming at Francis that this is all her fault. Luciano orders his men to slaughter Leonard and leave absolutely nobody alive on the docks. The thugs charge, but Leonard moves like blue lightning, slicing through them with absolute ease. With one smooth motion, Leonard disarms his attackers before they can even react. He does not even need his sword for this. I know what you're thinking, this is unreal. He drops one guy with a massive kick, leaving Francis and Marion completely shook as he wipes out the entire gang in seconds. Marion cannot believe she did not even have time to draw her own weapon, wondering what kind of monster this kid actually is. Francis finally begins to witness the terrifying power of the Cardenas family as Leonard wraps up the fight with one final, crushing blow. He casually walks back to them while Luciano is still whimpering on the ground, asking what they should do with him. The docks go dead silent. The girls are still processing the absolute bloodbath they just witnessed. Leonard notices their weird stares and asks if he did something wrong or what. Francis explains that Luciano is not just some random idiot. He is the illegitimate son of the most powerful figure in all of Atlantis. Leonard goes quiet, realizing he just stumbled into a massive political mess. Francis starts filling him in on the Maritime Union, which is run by a super strict council. Luciano's dad, Pablo Orlando Peterson, is one of the 5 heavyweights ruling these seas with an iron fist. Leonard immediately starts analyzing the situation. This dad guy is way more troublesome than he initially seemed. Leonard looks closely at Francis, making a quick decision on his next move in this new territory. So he tells Francis he is officially her bodyguard now, and trust me, you and I know he is only doing this to solve his own problems. He will keep her safe and get the intel he needs to return.